ever standing start coming your way.
The NBC Sports Network welcomes you to the following presentation of the IZOD IndyCar Series.
For the second time this season, the IZOD IndyCar Series has traveled outside the United States. This time, it's Toronto, Canada, where fans have been gathering along Lake Ontario at Exhibition Place, home to Prince's Gate. With 7 career wins here, owner Michael Andretti was once the Prince of Toronto, and now his driver, Canadian James Hinchcliffe, looks to do the same. Ganassi Racing comes into Canada off the momentum of a podium sweep last weekend in Pocono, and today they will try to chip away at the championship points lead of Team Penske's Helio Castroneves. As it's time to welcome you to IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon, where we'll set the stage for today's race 1 of this double-header weekend. IndyCar has literally taken over the streets of downtown Toronto, as it has done for many, many years. This is a crowd favourite event, and we've taken over BMO Field. Our booth and our host position is right there. You see the soccer pitch? We are there, home to Toronto FC, part of the MLS Championship. Hi folks, Lee Diffie with you here live in Toronto, and including today's this weekend's 2 double-header races, we've got 8 left this season. You'll see all of them here on your home of open wheel racing, the NBC Sports Network. We've got 7 street or road courses, finishing with the finale in Fontana, California. Now, this is the second of 3 double-header race weekends in 2013. We had Detroit, here we are in Toronto, and we look forward to the final one on the streets of Houston later in the year in October. There could be a massive championship swing here this weekend. Twice as many opportunities for points. It's going to be tough, and there's also a little bit of extra cash on the line. If somebody won Detroit, they would have walked away, both races at Detroit, they would have walked away with $50,000. They didn't, because Conway and Pagenaud split the wins. So the money bonused here, and if somebody can win both, get that perfect finish, there's going to be $100,000 going their way. Now, as you can see, it's a beautiful day here today. However, that wasn't the case earlier in the week. On Monday, rain came down, and it came down heavy, more than 3.5 inches just in the space of a brief period on Monday afternoon. And they talk about the hidden rivers on the shores of Lake Ontario. Well, they came alive. But the weather is good, and everyone's ready to go racing. So, too, is Jan Beekes.
And, Lee, of course, it's dry down here. When you talk about Toronto, you have to think about it's a driver's racetrack. 2 drivers who have excelled, Dario Franchitti and Will Power. Of course, Dario Franchitti has taken the checkered flag here 3 times, Will Power twice. They start first and third today, but the most amazing thing to me, neither one has won a race this year. Kevin?
Jan, there are 62 combined wins and 8 championships here on the front row. Sebastian Bourdais will be in this car starting second, has exactly half of those. He won 31 times in 5 years in Champ Car before going to Formula One, but since he returned, he hasn't run up at the front very often. Today is by far his best chance and his best start. Sebastian Bourdais could be back in victory lane today for a 32nd time. Over to Brian Till.
Well, Michael Andretti has more wins as a driver here at Toronto than any other driver, but 2 of his current drivers doing pretty good this season. Ryan Hunter-Reay has 2 victories on the season. He's looking to repeat a victory here in Toronto, and James Hinchcliffe, hometown boy, he's got 3 wins on the season. He's looking to improve on a personal best here at Toronto of 14th. Lee?
Thanks, Brian. Well, the last 4 races in the series have been on ovals. A 24-year absence at Pocono Raceway was ended last weekend. That in itself was historic enough. But Chip Ganassi Racing's boys said, you haven't seen anything yet.
What turn 4, IndyCar Racing returns to Pocono. The green flag waves, and we are racing.
Oh, it's spinning hard into the wall.
Contact on pit road between Ryan Hunter-Reay and Takuma Sato.
And here comes the battle for the race lead.
Now Kimball's got Dixon to his inside.
Ganassi running 1, 2, 3 for the 30th time in his career. Scott Dixon gets the win. Kimball second. Franchitti completes the sweep, and the celebration begins.
On the same day that Sebastian Vettel won his 30th career Formula One race, The 32-year-old Kiwi Scott Dixon won his 30th career IndyCar race and moves ahead of legends like Rick Mears and Johnny Rutherford to be 10th on the all-time wins list. Quite the accomplishment, Kevin.
Well, Lee, Scott Dixon is certainly in rare air when it comes to that all-time wins list. What did you guys find at Pocono last week? Not just you, but the team. And does any of it transfer to what we have here this weekend?
I think it was a combination of things kind of going our way, strategy-wise, especially in the race. I think if we had a caution with about 30 or 40 to go, it would have changed things maybe a little bit more. It seemed that Chevy needed to lean out a fair bit to actually, get the distance that we could. But it put us in a different kind of boat. We just had, more power at a better fuel economy than they could run. But, I think it always carries over a little bit. Everybody's, I think just feeling, they feel better. They want to come to the track. They're competitive. They want to race. You know how it is after you win. Hopefully it rolls on a little bit more. So I think for the first part of the Toronto weekend, it's been pretty good. Dario was quickest in most sessions, getting the pole and, qualifying one, and then the number 9 getting in qualifying 2. So it's a good place to start from. I'm a little further back in race 1 and starting 5th, but I think we've definitely both got very good cars to try and put on a good show for Target Canada opening. Obviously they've opened this year, so it's good to see.
Scott Dixon, definitely someone watch today.
Thanks, Kevin. Dario Franchitti has more pole positions at Toronto than any other driver. But, Dario, what you haven't done in any of those pole position starts is start from a standing start. What is that going to be like today, the very first time here in the IndyCar Series?
I'm a little worried about it, I must admit. I've been sitting back in the bus there kind of trying to visualize all the stuff that's going to happen. At least I got nobody in front of me. I've not got to worry about stalled cars and stuff like that, but I got to try and make a clean start. Nothing fancy. Try and get off the line, and then we'll go racing.
I know it's going to be a little bit different with that standing start, but the race is going to play out the same way. What are tires going to be like today?
Well, the tires are lasting really well. Scott and I were doing our fastest times in practice there with like 20 laps on the tires on the blacks. The reds, a lot quicker to start with, have a bit more drop off, which we expect. So some guys, Bourdais starting next to me on blacks there. We're starting on reds. Just we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully both Target cars look really fast, so hopefully we can stay up front and keep the pressure on.
Well, there may be different tire strategies being played out, but Dario's strategy, simple, win.
Of the Ganassi drivers, Scott Dixon is the biggest mover. He's the highest place, and he jumped 3 spots last weekend with that victory in Pocono. Elio Castroneves still has a 23-point lead, but Dixon is the man to watch, and you don't see Dario Franchitti. He is just outside the top 10. One driver who's slowly working his way forward is Will Power. At one point this year, he was 18th. He's now 9th in the points and would dearly love to win again today to get his championship hopes back on track. You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you've got to get DirecTV, and by Verizon. We're not sure who's more nervous, these guys walking around the top of the CN Tower or the 24 drivers who are about to attempt their first standing start in the IZOD IndyCar Series. On a beautiful day here in Ontario. And when we talk about Dario Franchitti, we talk about Will Power. 4 of the last 5 years, either of those drivers have been victorious here on the city streets. One guy drives a Honda, one guy drives a Chevrolet, one drives for Ganassi, one drives for Penske. In many ways, it's the sport's ultimate rivalry. And here on these city streets, they've enjoyed some really good times by themselves, and so not so good times together.
The lights coming on in Toronto. 2007, power prevails.
We go green in the streets of Toronto.
Here comes the pass to the lead. Dario Franchitti started on pole. He will win the streets of Toronto.
Now 14 laps to go. Will Power trying on the outside, and boy, does he get a great pass.
The twin checkers will wave. Will Power is the winner.
Green, green, green.
Oh, the Joey, unbelievable. The championship contenders.
We hear from race control that Dario will not have to serve the penalty. Full course caution.
He got hit from behind.
Yeah.
The driver second in the championship is going to have his second straight DNF.
He survived a wild afternoon of crashing, and Dario Franchitti is the winner.
really disappointed in Dario. I always race him clean, and he always races me dirty.
If he's bumped off, he's quite right to be bumped off there.
Always count on in Toronto is fireworks, and of course Will Power has been involved in many of those fireworks. What do you think this racetrack, why is it so confrontational?
Man, I think it's just the fact that you have that slow turn 1, which leads onto a massive straight, and you go into turn 3, and it's quite open there. So it always leads to a bit of biff and barge, and everyone pointing fingers at each other. But it definitely makes for a good race for the fans, and you can always expect there to be a lot of yellows and restarts at the end of the race.
Well, you talk about restarts. What about starts? Remember, everything that Will Power just said now is going to amplify, because soon it'll be a standing start. Kevin?
Sebastian Bourdais is going to start second here today. I don't think you saw that one coming. Where did it come from?
I just threw a fast car. We've been fast in the first segment, then in Q2, then in Q3 we pulled one out at the end. So, I was pretty steady and consistent at the front. I really wasn't expecting it, because in prime tires the car wasn't anything special, but as soon as we put the reds on this time, it just lit up and was capable of pushing pretty hard.
I think everyone would consider you one of the greatest drivers of not only your generation but any generation, but it's been a while and it's been frustrating. So what's this mean, to have a chance to win a race again for the first time in a while?
Well, I think last year we've had a couple of shots at it, but couldn't just make it happen. And just this year's been really frustrating because we just didn't have the pace. And hopefully it's going to be the turnaround again in Toronto. It's been the case for the last 2 seasons. So fingers crossed.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
And that was a massive boost to the Dragon Racing team. Sebastian Bourdais putting that McAfee entry on the front row. There are 2 Canadians in the race today, Alex Tagliani and, of course, Ontario's own James Hinchcliffe. We'll hear from him when we come back.
The Toronto race is so, it's always been bittersweet for me because, I grew up watching that race. That race is why I became a fan of IndyCar, which subsequently is why I got into racing, which is subsequently is why I'm here. First one when I was 18 months old, and I've been to every single one since. Now, rather than the kid with the Sharpie in the grandstands, I'm actually the guy out on track. For whatever reason, that track just hates me. And so this year, if it's just nice to me, I'm not saying I have to win it, I'd love to win it, but if it just doesn't do something awful to me, I would love it.
Like many drivers, James Hinchcliffe calls Indianapolis, Indiana home because of his IndyCar racing career. However, his real home is just down the road here, about 20 miles away in Oakville, Ontario. However, here at the track, he's got another home. This is Hinchtown. And his brother Christopher, his sister Rebecca, his mum Arlene, dad Jeremy, and girlfriend Kirsten, along with a bunch of other friends, are there cheering Hinch on. It's been a remarkable season for James Hinchcliffe. Of course, he got that career-first victory on the streets of St. Pete, that electrifying victory in Brazil on the last corner of the last lap, and the dominant victory on the oval in Iowa. However, it's very much been a case of feast or famine for Hinch, because not only is the only driver in the series to win 3 races this year, he's also the only driver in the series to come last 3 times this year. The Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Let's go for a new racing season! Wow, Elio made a mistake in turn 1. Hinchcliffe is the new race leader. The mayor of Hinchtown is now an IndyCar Series winner.
And we are racing in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
It's all to play for on this final lap. And on the inside, Hinchcliffe is on the over and under. And he wins his second one.
The Iowa-born Indy 250 is green.
Here comes the GoDaddy car. James Hinchcliffe will grab the lead.
James Hinchcliffe taking the win, his 3rd of the year.
Well, 3 wins on the season, and of course, being a Toronto native makes James Hinchcliffe the mayor of Hinchtown, and everybody's here. There is no ballot box because I know you don't want anybody else to try to get in on your business, but let's talk about business. Winning here in Toronto to make it 4 victories, but more importantly, to become only the 2nd Canadian to ever win here in Toronto. How big would that be for you?
Well, first off, I just got to say these are all extras. I paid them all to be here. I was sad at the turnout yesterday, so I want to boost myself up a bit. So thank you all for showing up. Checks in the mail. No, I mean, obviously a win here would just be over the top. It'd be, as good as winning the Indy 500 kind of thing. And Paul's done it twice, and everybody reminds me it was 93, 03. Hey, guess what year it is, James? So no pressure. But we struggled a little bit in qualifying, but, this race is known for attrition. It's known for things being tossed up in the air, and this team is just so good at making good decisions on race day. So we're going to try and get the GoDaddy car up there. And just one more thing, I want a quick shout out to Peggy Long, who's having a bit of a fight right now. So our thoughts and well wishes with her and Tom.
And if he can come up with this victory here, guys, Hinchtown tonight is going to be one wild place. Lee?
Good on you, Brian. Thank you. And during today's race, a reminder, you can watch James Hinchcliffe's onboard camera and check out the live timing and scoring on the IndyCar 13 app. To download it, simply call ** Indy or search the App Store or Google Play, only from Verizon. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about standing starts. It is the topic of the IZOD IndyCar Series right now. Steve Matchett, Townsend Bell are going to join me to talk more about that. But first, what do the drivers think of it?
Standing starts, I've never done one.
I mean, it's all about getting the traction down, and then you'll be driving past those 20 cars if you get it right.
The standing starts, you can practice 1,000 times, but it's the guy who practices 1,000 times that's going to screw up the first start.
I haven't done a standing start in 17 years.
My initial thought was, wow, this is going to be interesting.
I think standing starts, you have a big chance of screwing it up.
The obvious big risk is if somebody stalls, and what happens? We don't have trunks to absorb the impact.
I don't like it in the first place. I think the equipment is maybe not robust for what we are trying to do. It's very hard to be consistent with it.
If things go wrong, they can go really wrong.
If we're going to talk tradition, I still believe IndyCar, belongs to rolling starts.
If the fans want it, I'm all for it. So we'll see what happens.
And we know that Panther Racing has this great Hire the Heroes program. And so part of this Boss Lift program with the New Hampshire National Guard was for all of us to come out here, get an opportunity to meet some of the folks out here and take a little ride around the track.
It brings employers together to meet with the people that really have their finger on the pulse and know what these people are going through, and reach out to employers so that we can help them hire these folks and get them back to work.
We welcome you back to Toronto for the Honda Indy 2 in Toronto, the first of this doubleheader race weekend. And in just a few moments, it really will be lights, camera, action. Now, while it happened in the Champ Car World Series, it has never happened in the IZOD IndyCar Series. That is a standing start. The guys got to practice it. And I wonder just what they have to do. Well, that's what Jan Beekers tells us in this week's Professor B.
When it comes to standing starts, the technology of these cars has changed a lot. Gone is the clutch pedal and the foot box, and now there's the clutch paddle. In fact, two of them. But there's no feel for a clutch paddle because it's electronic. It electronically controls a pneumatic clutch, meaning you have a compressor that takes air pressure and then drives that pneumatic clutch itself. The procedure for standing starts is actually pretty complicated because the series wants to have the start in the hands of the drivers. They typically will adjust one clutch kind of with a fine setting and the other one with a coarse. So they'll pull both in, then set what they think with the fine as a bite point. In other words, just when the clutch is biting. Then when you hit a green light, pow, you let this one out and then kind of feather the other one for wheel spin. All at the same time where you're watching on the dash, your throttle position, rev limit, everything has to be perfect. Now the drivers and the engineers tell me, you know what, in the end of the day, the standing start's going to come down to driver stress level. Remember, two drivers have never done a standing start in competition, and for many, it's been quite a few years.
I promise you it's all anyone has been talking about this weekend. How about the driver's history as far as standing starts? Well, Simon Pagenaud has done the most recent one at the Pikes Peak Hill Climb Takuma Sato did one earlier this year in his home country of Japan. A lot of the guys did V8 supercars on the streets of Service Paradise. James Jakes in GP2 and GP3. So there's a good variety. There's a couple of guys who have not done it at all. Tense times, that's for sure. We welcome in Townsend Bell and our special guest this weekend, NBC Sports Network's F1 analyst Steve Matchett. Great to have you with us. Hey, mate, from a driver's standpoint, how is this going to work?
Well, standing starts are really the most exciting part of any race that I've taken part in. And I think that the perspective for both guys is going to be about where they are starting qualifying-wise. Because if you're at the front, if you're Dario Franchitti, you just don't want to make a mistake. You just want to get everything right. You can tell by his body language this morning, I just don't want to mess up. I want to do the sequence right. If you're further back, say, hometown kid like Alex Tagliani, your eyes are going to be as wide as saucers thinking, I can make up time here. I can make up spots today. It's going to be fascinating to watch this unfold.
Steve, this is taking the guys out of their comfort zone, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. But I should say the hardware and everything needed for a standing start is already very familiar with the drivers. It's built into the chassis. Effectively, whenever the drivers leave the pits after fuel and tyres, they're doing a standing start.
Sure.
Really, it's more the pressure of being on the grid, surrounded by your peers, and knowing, of course, that the world is watching, and not only that, that race control is also watching. There is a concern, of course, about the cars overheating, and I think we're only going to see one attempt at this standing start, and then they'll call it off if it doesn't work.
Well, this man here, Steve Matchett, spent the best part of his life in the Formula One pit lane. He's not scared of much until he took a ride with this guy in this week's GoPro course preview. Take a look.
Here's our start-finish line. We're going to do a standing start here for the first time ever in IndyCar.
Yeah.
Race 2. Turn 1 here. Welcome to Toronto and welcome to IndyCar, Steve. This is entering the back straight here, kind of a flat-out kink. We're onto the long back straightaway. One thing you'll find about IndyCar tracks, a lot bumpier, a lot manlier than those Formula One ultra-smooth European tracks that you're used to.
Yeah, I've heard about the nature of this track being very bumpy. The brakes probably not quite as precise as they would be on a smooth track. Should we try those brakes?
Well, this is the key brake zone. This is braking for turn 3. What's really cool about this corner is you can pass on the outside, because if you hang to the outside, you get right here, and all of a sudden you've got the advantage for the left-hand kink approaching turn 5.
Yeah, very good. Well, the brakes do seem to be working. Yeah. All right. Well, it's nice to get them up to temperature. And the rear of the car seems to step out quite nicely as well there. So
now this is one of the most challenging parts I find right here. This left-hander, you're going to wait on the front end to grab, try to keep it off the wall. It's hard to find where the wall actually
right here. That's one thing I've noticed about this track. Going around with you, there's no runoff area at all, is there?
Kind of a blind corner. And again, a fun section here. This next corner, you can use a ton of curve. Let's see how much we can get away with here in this Honda Accord.
Oh yeah, just about that much. Wow!
And onto this last corner. Welcome to Toronto. And that's a lap for you, Steve. Welcome to IndyCar.
I'm on the verge of crying. Did you enjoy that as much as we did? Fantastic stuff. Thanks for watching IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon. When we come back, guess what? We're going racing. Honda Indy 2 in Toronto. Last week, the rolling hills of Pennsylvania saw Andretti Autosport start strong with 3 of its 4 cars on the front row at Pocono. But when turn 1 hit, the likely domination began to fall apart. It's left, the car makes heavy contact. The hometown hero Marco Andretti carried the flag while misfortune found his teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay. But Andretti's day of frustration became Chip Ganassi Racing's day of celebration as the trio of Dixon, Kimball and Franchitti stormed through the field, allowing Dixon to capture Ganassi's first win since Mid-Ohio last year and the team's first ever 1-2-3. Has the sleeping giant awoken? Crossing the border into Toronto for the second doubleheader of the year, we'll see if Ganassi can capitalize on 2 chances to close the title race. We could not ask for a better weekend to go racing, and guess what? The best part is we do it twice. This is the Honda 2 in Toronto. The IZOD IndyCar Series 12th round. and we are very excited about this. And as we see each and every year, an enormous crowd of passionate and educated, knowledgeable Canadian open-wheel fans. This is the 27th time open-wheel cars have raced here on the streets of Toronto, and there are 2 Canadians in the field. It's time now for the command from NHL Stanley Cup winning player Dave Boland.
Toronto IndyCar race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. Here's David Boland of your Toronto Maple Leafs to give the command.
Drivers, start your engines.
Think about the pressure on the 2 Canadians. Think about the pressure on each of the 24 drivers about to face their first standing start in the IZOD IndyCar Series. They know it's tense. They know they've got to get it right. Before we get going, let's check in with the boys one more time. We start with Jan Beekes.
And Lee, one of the exciting things about working pit road is when the drivers fired up and lighted up coming off of pit road. Now all 24 are going to do it at the same time. Consider the top 3 qualifiers have not won this year. And look at the front row. Honda versus Chevrolet. We'll find out which engine and which driver got it right. Kevin?
Ryan Briscoe is again in the Panther car this week. It's been a good week. He won in the sports car at Lime Rock last week. We're hearing he's got a really good chance of being in this car full-time next year. And we also learned this week that he's going to be a father for the first time. He and his wife, Nicole, are expecting a baby girl. Down to Brian Till.
James Hinchcliffe may be looking for his first victory in his 3rd start here at Toronto, but it's not like he doesn't know this racetrack well. 26 times he's been there. That's every year that they've raced Indy cars in Toronto. James Hinchcliffe has been here. Robin?
Brian, the last time we went street racing and had a doubleheader, it was the Mike Conway show. He introduced himself to his crew on Friday, kicked everybody's butt on Saturday, and finished 3rd on Sunday. But today he's starting 20th. He's had a miserable weekend. He can't get a hold of the racetrack, but it's a long race. We'll see what happens, Lee.
Thanks, Robin. And it's not a very long racetrack. It's only 1.7 miles. But Townsend, this gives the drivers, whether male or female, a real challenge.
It's a massive challenge and always a great race here. Let's take a look at a lap at Toronto. This is the raciest street circuit on the schedule, and the drivers are constantly tempted to pass in 3 areas. The first is the braking for turn 1. The second is the braking for turn 3, which is a great corner because you can race side by side, but only one car will fit at the exit at that next kink. Finally, if you really want to take a chance, you can pass going into turn 8, but it's risky. This place, Lee, is always drama. Toronto is jungle warfare.
And remember, it's a double header. This is going to be physically taxing. These drivers are going to be tired on Monday. Quick reminder that you can be a part of Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes by going to shophonda.com to sign up. Enter now for your chance to lead the start of an IZOD IndyCar Series race in the IZOD 2-seater, as you see there, being driven by Indy 500 champ Ari Leyendijk and also legend Mario Andretti. That is the Honda fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. All right, let's show you where your favorite driver is starting. Dario Franchitti, this could be the turning point for the Scotsman in the 2013 season. He has been blisteringly fast all season, and Bourdais, great to see these 2 4-times champions on the front row.
Look who's lurking back in row 2. Will Power having a strong weekend so far. This is a track he's very fast at. Tony Kanaan, our Indy 500 champion, right there next to him.
Steve, what are they going to do? What are these guys going to do mentally to get off the grid well in this standing start?
They've just got to get themselves into that zone that all race drivers find just prior to the start of the race. Concentrate on what they've got to do and put everybody else out of mind. But there is going to be a lot of pressure there. See those orange stripes at the side of the grid when the cars pull up? That's exactly where they've got to be for the start, and watch the lights. But again, in their own mind, you've done it 1,000 times leaving the pits. Keep that at the front of the mind.
So we have not heard any word of any driver failing to start the car, so everybody's in their respective and correct positions. They will come around at the end of this lap and grid up. And then when the lights go out, when the red light is extinguished, it immediately goes to green. We will go racing. There's no second chances here. This is tense stuff, and it will be interesting. Let's show you some onboard views that we have for you. This is the battery tender onboard camera aboard the Midas entry of Graham Rahal.
Those tires and your brakes.
And of course, James Hinchcliffe, carrying the Verizon onboard. Simon Pagenaud carrying the HP onboard view. Up into turn 3, it's a hot spot. The National Guard onboard camera. We just heard about that with Kevin's report on Ryan Briscoe. He has been racy this weekend. Looking forward to that. And of course, the Acorn Stairlifts onboard on the Acorn Stairlifts car of James Jakes, who has also been very quick. He did get a 10 grid spot penalty though, but he is one to watch out this weekend. And of course, the Verizon onboard with Will Power. What can he do this weekend? 9th in the championship. Can he score another win? This is brilliant stuff. Word just came through before we came on the air, as we see the man who got his first ever 1-2-3 last weekend, Chip Ganassi. Guys, word just came through before we came on air a little earlier. Takuma Sato is now on probation.
I'm not even sure what that means anymore, but he's been pushing hard the last 2 races. He stepped over the line clearly at Pocono on that pit lane exit. But I'll tell you what, if there's ever a time to make a mistake, it's going to be here. I can't believe only 1 warm-up lap. Normally we get 2 or 3 to warm our tires, get the pressures, get the ride heights up. 1 warm-up lap, standing start. This is going to be wild.
And it's a formation lap, as we're calling it now, for this standing start. And what the drivers need to do right here is get heat into that carbon clutch. Remember, during the pit stops as the race develops, the clutch is hot. But now for this standing start, the clutch, the composite carbon clutch, needs to be up to racing temperature.
Remember, this has happened in the Champ Car World Series, never in the IZOD IndyCar Series. You'll see the red lights on the right, they'll climb, they'll ascend, and when they get to the very top, so long as everyone's in their respective spot and correct, as soon as they go out, we're going racing. It's an all-star front row with Dario Franchitti and Sebastian Bourdais, 2 4-time champions in open-wheel racing, ready to go.
I see a yellow flag. I see an aborted start. Yellow flag.
Aborted start. This is an aborted start. Pace car dispatch now. Pick up the leader, car 10. Car 10, you have the field. Let's move out, please. Let's roll the field out and meet the pace car at turn 2. Everybody, let's roll out.
That's really a shame. What this means is we're going to go to a rolling start. If there's an aborted start, they do not grid back up, so they are rolling now.
One of the reasons for that, looking around the equipment, guys, the coolers on these cars are simply have been designed for a rolling start, and the teams and engineers are concerned that for a second standing start, even after another formation, like you get into an overheating situation.
There is a disabled car on the front straightaway.
Newgarden.
Yeah,
that's
they're going to restart
reason.
him here.
Yeah. So Joseph will go to the back of the field and start, and we will go back to normal. We will go to the default position of a rolling start. Well, what a shame. We were looking forward to that. We're excited. The drivers were a little bit nervous about it, but it would have been interesting.
Yeah, it would. Joseph Newgarden stalled. We saw him there on track.
All the way in.
But that was nowhere near that vacant grid position, which was right up the top. So somehow I think that the drivers got shuffled out of position. I wonder whether or not, guys, we've just been talking about the drivers trying to get heat into the clutch. I wonder whether or not this is a problem with too much heat into the clutch.
It's just not letting me go, guys. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, it's just
what
speculation.
Do you want me to do here?
I would suggest that the clutch is overheated probably by trying to get too much heat into it.
Perhaps it could be some sort of electronic issue. It's so frustrating as a driver. It's like you've done it 1,000 times. You pull the clutch in, you give it gas, you release it, it's supposed to go. And you can tell in Joseph's voice it's certainly not responding in the manner he's used to.
Now, one of the questions that was asked this morning at the drivers' meeting to Brian Barnhart, normal race director Bo Barfield is not with us this weekend for personal reasons. He'll be back, but Brian Barnhart is at the helm this weekend, and there were lots of questions from the drivers. One of them was, what happens if we go into an aborted start? And Brian Barnhart was very quick to say, once we go into the start procedure, the race has begun. So technically the race is underway. We'll see them get going. You'll see the flag waved, and we'll get going once we get things sorted out with Joseph Newgarden's car.
These are the guys using the black primary tyres, and it's interesting to see really right at the top that Sebastian Bourdais, one of the front runners on that primary tyres. The rest of the guys around him all using the softer tyre, the red tyre.
And the reason he said that he did that is because they really got a bad patch in one of their sets of red, so they only have 2 to get through these 2 races. They have 1 today, 1 tomorrow, so he would rather have that set of reds to finish the race today.
And the word from the pit and paddock area is that, keep in mind, you have to run at once on at least on either compound, on the prime and the option, on the black and the red. And feedback on the reds is that they'll go a good portion of a normal stint, so they can run around 30-odd laps.
Yeah, they will, and then they'll just about fall off.
Brian?
Checked in with Joseph Newgarden's team. They said they were having a problem. It was stuck in anti-stall mode there on that front straightaway. That's why he could not get the car started.
Well, the way to get rid of that anti-stall device on the car, certainly in F1, and I'm thinking this is be a very similar system, is to pull that clutch in, Townsend, and disengage it. So perhaps that, combined with what you were saying, an electronic problem with the anti-stall, just killed the car.
Well, it's never the driver's fault, so I can promise you they're giving him plenty of instructions, and he's sitting there shaking his head going, guys, I've done this a million. I know how to start the car. Oh, man, this is frustrating. Yeah. He's back somewhere turn 4 or 5 on the backside. Still no start.
No.
And you can... The car's dead now. It doesn't want to go. It's just not happy.
Look at him. He's crossed his arms. He's like, this is ridiculous.
10-4. They're going to send the safety truck and pull you to pit lane here.
That anti-stall device...
It just doesn't feel right at all.
No, that anti-stall device is designed as a system you would suggest to stop the car stalling.
It's supposed to help you.
There are a number of parameters on the car that the system should be looking at. One is the engine revs, but the other one is how fast those revs drop down. So clearly something went wrong on that system.
So we're going to jump away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and hopefully go racing. NBC Sports Network's coverage of IndyCar is brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you've got to get DirecTV. Back on the streets of Toronto for the Honda Indy 2 in Toronto. And still working our way around to see these guys get up to full speed. Just to tell you, while we're in the break, Joseph Newgarden was assisted off the racing surface. His frustration continues. He was told by the team at Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing, stay in the car, Joseph, we'll come get you, we'll sort it out.
I'll tell you who's relieved in this situation. I really think Dario Franchitti and Sebastian Bourdais, two guys that need strong results desperately this weekend, are probably thinking, okay, fine, I'm used to this, rolling start, it's all good, I don't have to make any mistakes. The pressure's off.
The pressure's somewhat off.
You know, they're gonna slip Joseph $100 tonight under the table, I'm sure.
Into their
but the guys that are 7th, 8th, 9th, and then further back, they're thinking, oh, what a lost opportunity.
That empty grid spot that we saw at the start of the aborted start there was actually from Justin Wilson. Justin Wilson didn't get started up and running on the formation lap, so that was why we saw the empty grid spot. It wasn't that any of the drivers should have moved up and took that position. That was perfectly as it should have been conducted. The problem was further back, right on row 10 actually, 19th for that new guy.
Ready to go racing. Listen to the crowd respond. Let's do this, they're saying. Dario Franchitti is on the left in the target car. Look at his teammate on the inside. Scott Dixon got racing. Down into turn 1. Bourdais, is he going to get hustled out by Will Power? Wow, they're side by side. Franchitti has escaped, and Ryan Hunter-Wayne right around the outside. What a move from the defending race winner.
This is the big long run down the back straightaway. Look for everybody to beat Dodgy here, making passes.
Hunter-Ray, that was extraordinary. What a move. Look at that yellow DHL car. He slots up into 4th. That was magical.
Now, this is what I was talking about, Steve. You can go side by side from turn 3, but there's only one car width allowed through that kink. Everybody got through cleanly, we think. Look at, who was that?
I think that was Marco Andretti.
Andretti running wide over the curbing, just like you did to me, actually, the day, Townsend. But now we've got to get these tyres up to temperature. And again, take care of these composite brakes on these cars in these opening laps.
Franchitti, Bourdais, Will Power, he was forceful. Then Ryan Hunter-Ray running 4th at the moment. Dixon's back there.
There used to be tires earlier in the weekend at the apexes of some of those corners. Marco Andretti, the first one to realize nothing there. I'm taking every inch of road. In fact, it's 100% curb he drove over there.
Yeah. On board with Will Power coming down.
This is where they really get to stretch their legs.
Dixon, Castroneves, Andretti on the push-to-pass button.
Early. The target cars have been great this weekend. Look at Dixon on Canaan. Up into turn 3. Is Tony going to allow it to happen?
No, he's not.
He fights back. Great stuff.
That's what's so great about this racetrack at Toronto. If you go side by side there, you're on the inside for the next kink, and you stay outside in the hairpin.
Boy, this is a difficult track, isn't it?
It just goes to show that you do not have to relinquish that position. You can fight all the way up to turn 4. We've seen many collisions there. We've seen altercations, but also good racing like that between the Indy 500 champ, Tony Kanaan, and Scott Dixon.
The Target drivers, I think, have probably the best balance over the course of a long run. You can see the anxiety in Dixon. I need to get around now. So he's going to hold back here on Kanaan. Going to focus on a really good clean exit right there. Not super close, but it's a long straightaway. Let's see if he gets a toe.
The order is Franchitti with a 1.1 second lead over Sebastian Bourdais, Power, Hunter-Reay, Kanaan, Dixon.
Dixon on the button again. Kanaan defends to the inside now. Dixon's on the outside. He could have the advantage in the kink here. He gives it a shot of gas.
He's got the pass.
Wow, he's back again.
Well done.
That's very cool stuff by both drivers. It's very close wheel-to-wheel stuff, but it's intelligent racing.
Absolutely, and at the apex, Steve, you've got a concrete patch. When you're wide, you're on asphalt. You're actually at an advantage, but driving more distance.
I think you're absolutely right. We've seen that all this weekend, haven't we? That concrete, the grip level just goes right down, runs away with the car, can cause a lot of understeer on the car. You want to try and avoid that concrete if you can. It is getting faster. The track is certainly rubbering in from when we first arrived here for this race weekend. The sun has been out. We've had no rain. More and more rubber has been down on track, and grip is improving.
Tell us more about Dixon, Kevin.
Well, we shouldn't be surprised he's moving his way towards the front. He may have only started 5th, but remember, in this morning's warm-up/qualifying for tomorrow, he was the fastest. He said he was just as good yesterday, but he made a mistake in Q3. And here he goes again, taking a look on Hunter-Reay, I think.
Using that push to pass again with effect. 2 passes in 2 laps. Heading up towards the same part of the track. Scott Dixon on the move.
Incredible. Made that look incredibly easy, didn't he?
He's up to 4th. He's got a 1.5 gap to Will Power. Yeah. It looks like Franchitti and Bourdais have settled into a pace where they're going to try to manage tire wear.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember, these guys, Franchitti and Bourdais, on different tires. Dario Franchitti on the red tyre, the softer tyre will give more grip but is less durable, as we're seeing all sorts of racing series, and Sebastian Bourdais doing exactly the opposite on the black tyres. They're harder.
8 laps complete. Everything looks good.
Less grippy but more durable. So Sebastian Bourdais' job now is to hang on to Dario Franchitti. Do not get that gap opened up.
And it looks so familiar to see that Target Chip Ganassi car out in front with that famous and familiar helmet of Dario's. However, this is only the 2nd race that Franchitti has led this year. He led 27 laps at Long Beach earlier in the season. He's had a good record here. He's been victorious 3 times. And now Dario is in a position that he's familiar with. Clear track ahead, and he's into his rhythm.
What if Bud Light created the world's biggest stage? And through the music experience of a lifetime. In every single state. On the exact same day.
For a chance to see artists like Miguel, Ludacris, and Dierks Bentley, check out budlight.com/music first. 50 shows, 50 states, 1 day.
Here we go.
Introducing a car company that's never made a single car. Legendary durability. Impressive mileage. Firestone tires. So unstrap the saddle. These old stallions are ready to run. Again. Whatever you drive a Firestone.
Water was boring, so we changed it into a drink you can flavor your way. With Mio, add it to water, flavor it the way you want. Nothing's exploding. Let's change that. Mio is awesome!
The wind's constant force should have disrupted man. Instead, man raised a sail and made farther his battle cry. The new Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2013 Truck of the Year, the most fuel-efficient half-ton truck on the road, achieving best-in-class 25 highway miles per gallon. Guts, glory, Ram.
On the NBC Sports Network, you saw that in non-stop. That was Charlie Kimball, the 3rd of the Ganassi cars, the 83 machine, making a move on EJ Viso for 12th. He got by the Sitco entry. Now, heading up into turn This is our own Townsend Bell in Robbie Gordon's Stadium Super Truck race earlier today. He was leading Robbie Gordon up until that point. What happened, mate?
I thought it was actually a fan exhibition. I didn't realize we were actually racing, so I tried to back it in like your old friend McDewitt.
Yeah.
It wasn't driver error, was it?
Boy.
You did very well. You did very, very well. Anyway, back to it. The biggest movers in this race so far, Graham Rahal, Mike Conway, Charlie Kimball, they've all made up 4 places. Now, Robin Miller, did you get a chance to see Townsend in that Stadium Super Truck race?
He was impressive, a lot more so than Jimmy Vasserly, who tried it this morning. Robbie Gordon told Vassar, don't get on the throttle too hard because you'll get too airborne. You don't need all that air in you. Vassar came down hard. They took him to the hospital. Fortunately, he didn't break anything, but he's not going to be sitting down for about a day and a half.
Oh, Jimmy. This is Ryan Hunter-Reay, defending series champion and defending race winner. He sits in the 5th position at the moment, and he's got a bit of ground over Tony Kanaan. This is where it's a little bit busier, though. Simon Pagenaud, James Hinchcliffe leading Pagenaud, Kimball and Vizo in the background. It's a bit of a chain.
Got a lot of suspension movement on these cars up and down the field, actually, but that's really a trait that we're going to see around here, Townsend, isn't it? Because of this track is very, very bumpy. You need to have it relatively soft. Let's have a look.
Score when you get a chance. Take care of
Classic pass here. Hinchcliffe goes to the outside. Pagenaud defends to the inside. And at that point, Hinch can look in his right-hand mirror and see that he's got the gap and the corner.
There was also something that was raised in this morning's driver meeting, reminding all 24 drivers, you can make a move, but once you do, like moving to the inside heading up to turn 3, you must stay there. You cannot move back out again, otherwise you're going to be penalized. And Hinchcliffe has gapped Pagenaud very quickly.
He's gapped Pagenaud, and Pagenaud now has trouble from behind as Kimball is charging up the inside.
Yeah, Kimball charging up the outside. Look at that on the hard tyres, on the black tyres. Pagenaud's got the red tyres on.
Now, Charlie did have to use a push to pass there. He's got 7 left. He's used the most of anybody in the field so far. Dixon's also used 3.
Again, you see these cars looking around to try and find the best line around here. They're still struggling for grip on that concrete, despite the amount of rubber that's gone down on track.
Steve, I'm watching the lap times, and at this point, it looks like we might already be at the point where the crossover of the red degradation and the black consistency is just starting to intersect.
Yeah, I think you're right, absolutely. That gap between Franchitti and Bourdais has been around a second from the start of this race. It went down to just under, now down to 0.8. I think you're absolutely right, Townsend. I think those harder tyres are now coming into their own in terms of durability over the grippier red soft tyres that Franchitti's using.
Charlie Kimball, fresh from that podium result last weekend in Pocono where he finished 2nd, the same spot where he finished here 1 year ago. He pulled off a terrific move to grab that spot and go on and get a podium. And look at this. You couldn't ask for more of 2 star drivers at the front of this field, and Bourdais has caught Franchitti. You got 2 guys who have won 4 open wheel championships each, guys who have driven everything from Formula 1 to NASCAR to Le Mans to the Rolex 24 at Daytona. There's nothing these 2 drivers have not done. And here they are at the head of the field.
Yeah, 14 laps completed. We're just here. We're into lap 15. A little earlier on, we heard a radio message from Sebastian Bourdais' crew from Dragon Racing asking him about the balance of the car.
right with you. Then Tower and Dixon are a little back from them.
On these harder tyres, on the black tyres, and Bourdais' response was terrific for him and his crew. He said, it's fine. The car's working absolutely fine. Which is exactly what his crew will want to hear. It is not what Franchitti will want to hear.
Well, it seemed disadvantaged for Bourdais at the start based on Jan's report on the availability of reds, but it seems advantage Bourdais now.
Yeah.
We are 14 laps in. We got to kind of keep that distance lap count in mind in terms of red degradation as the race goes on.
Biggest mover off the race in the Midas machine is Graham Rahal. He has made up 5 positions from his starting spot of 18th. He's the man on the move, Robin.
Lee, I think what you've seen here is they've really struggled to have. They've had 2 good races all year, and guess what? They're probably going to make a change in the engineering staff before the season's over because they got to do something. This guy's hasn't forgotten how to drive a race car, and he was in the Fast 6 all the time just a couple years ago. Sure, his confidence is hurt, but I think Bob Rahal's looking to make a change sooner than later.
Well, and what's happened as far as the team is concerned, James Jakes was the faster of the two drivers all weekend, but had to take that 10 grid spot penalty for an engine change. Graham Rahal has, in fact, got around James Jakes, and he's taken off.
But that's the thing here is that, yes, Graham might be a little unhappy with his engineering, but he's got a teammate, Steve, that is getting the job done. And if you bolt those settings identical onto Graham's car, We've asked the question. Graham says, "Well, I don't really like the balance and the way it feels." Well, sometimes you got to just bolt it on and sit up and drive.
What we've got is what we've got. There's not an awful lot else you can do. It comes to the point where there's nothing else you can find in the car. You have to put it in the driver's hands. And
I've been in those situations before. It can be frustrating, but sometimes you just have to say, "I got to just man up here and get it done."
The other thing that Graham Rahal is working for him this weekend is a new engine, guys. He lifed out the last one, got the 2,000 miles out of it, so he's got a little more horsepower underneath the bonnet of that chassis this weekend. That's going to be big, and you see Joseph Newgarden being pushed back onto pit road.
And Mike O'Gara and the guys from Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing have said, we're not going to give up. We're going to fire this thing up. We're going to get young Joseph out there again and compete in this race. Meanwhile, up front, look at this. Bourdais is as close as he has been to race leader Dario Franchitti.
Yeah, it is now under just 0.548 last time through, timing and scoring. These guys are close.
You know what kind of a year it's been for Sebastian Bourdais? His best result is 11th, and 4 times he's finished 20th or higher. It has been a miserable year for the man born in Le Mans. And this guy here, Dario Franchitti, he's looking to turn things around as well. On the streets of Toronto, and look at this for the lead of the race, and Will Power has joined the gang as well, and Scott Dixon is not far behind either. Pressure mounting on Dario Franchitti.
Wow, it really is mounting. That gap has come down and down and down. It was a second, 0.9, 0.8, 0.7, 0.6. It's now down to 0.3 on timing and scoring, but I think it's less than that right now in real time.
And we have not seen the best of Will Power this year. Oddly enough, his race results have been better on ovals than on street or road courses, but this is where he thrives.
Dario Franchitti's lap times have fallen off by over a second. That last lap time, 2 seconds off the pace. He is hanging on for dear life. The rear tires have got to be completely spent at this point. You can tell he's driving so carefully at the apex power off.
And Townsend earlier on, Dario Franchitti himself was talking about the quality of the black tires. Whoa! Saying the black tires are good to around lap 20.
Now, Bourdais didn't stay with it on the outside there. He's going to force the issue here on the inside.
Whoa! Was that 4 wheels? Was that 4
It was,
wheels?
but Lee, I got a note here from race control that they're not going to enforce 2 wheels on the racetrack for the rest of the race. It is any piece of surface you can find, you can use.
So fair move by Bourdais. Look at Dixon on his teammate now. Scott gets by Dario.
What on earth is happening to Dario Franchitti? He's lost 3 positions in that many corners.
And he keeps getting told to stay out, and he continues to.
Boy, oh boy. Well, I expected the fight between Bourdais and Franchitti to be one thing. Got to hang on for a couple of more.
Let's show you what went down at the top end of the circuit. Dario Franchitti leading until this point here. Watch the silver car, the chrome car of Sebastian Bourdais.
Bourdais sticks his nose in, and he's got all of that curb to run now because he knows I can use every bit of it.
Yeah.
This is what it looked like for Will Power.
Now here I thought Bourdais was actually going to stay side by side like Kanaan did earlier, but he hung back, got a run, and then just shoved it up the inside. Lucky that Dario did not turn in and take the corner as usual.
Yeah. And Will Power just absolutely capitalizes on the move ahead. Why that move for first place was happening, Will Power thought, I'm going to have some of that, and pulled it off in fine style.
That's Jay Penske, the son of Roger Penske, and it's not too often that Jay's team has led Dad's team.
No, this is huge for these guys. It's a small team. They regularly punch above their weight, but they haven't so far this year. They certainly are now, and those black tires, Steve, are looking like the ones
incredible.
to have.
Absolutely, it does. And again, several of the drivers saying, well, good to around lap 20 in terms of performance. That's not that the tires are dropping off. They're giving competitive lap times up to lap 22.
It looked like Will Power charged for a lap or two, thinking this is my chance, and it could be that he's now found the end of the tire life there on the Reds.
1.6 seconds the margin between race leader Sebastian Bourdais and Will Power. It's the first time Bourdais has led since Sao Paulo, Brazil. Jan?
Very interesting as you see Will Power go through that same section of the...
for the remainder of the race, and are not going to enforce that as previously called.
And that is exactly what I was going to say, because Will Power had been warned. We see that Dario Franchitti is going to pit, but they were warning Will Power, don't put four wheels off the racetrack earlier. Now you can hear direct from race control. They've rescinded that. So, Townsend, you are correct. Now anything is game.
Interesting to see that Dario Franchitti, that his team is bringing him in on lap 23. What that suggests to me is that a full fuel run is going to be about 30-31 laps.
Yeah, that's certainly what it was last year as well, about lap 30.
Okay, going to have to pass here.
Brian Till standing by. Brian?
5, 4,
Franchitti into his marks. He had been on the radio for the last 6 or 8 laps saying the left rear is absolutely gone. You saw the results of that on the racetrack. So it's blacks going on.
Clear.
Wow. Well, we saw the loose wheel nut out into pit road there, but nevertheless, I don't think it affected the pit stop. So that's Franchitti released back into the fray.
That's impressive, Brian. Sorry for jumping on you there. I saw the wheel nut come flying off, but so quick to get it back on. Here's Charlie Kimball and Hinch battling it out again at turn 3.
Kimball is one of the biggest movers in this race. Graham Rahal, Conway, and Kimball have all made 6 positions. Look at EJ Vizo on the inside.
Charlie Kimball clearly has not received the memo.
Brad Goldberg, his engineer, will be all over that. He'll be telling him, because they will have seen Sebastian Bourdais and EJ Vizo take that short line.
Now, sure, you've got to jump over a curb, but you're driving so much less distance, it's got to be worth it. I can tell you, a stadium super truck, you don't even feel that thing.
There it is, the rear from Dario Franchitti's car. So Hinchcliffe has been under pressure lap after lap after lap to try and hold on to his 9th place. He's behind Ryan Briscoe, just went through shot there. So it's Bourdais, Power, Dixon, Hunter-Ray, Canard, the top 5. Then Marco Andretti, Castro Neves, Briscoe, Hinchcliffe, Kimball. Here's Graham Rahal, a man who also made up 6 positions.
Okay, go. Strong laps now.
So these guys are all pitting for black tires, Steve, now. Again, right around lap 25, which leaves 60 to go in the race, which suggests they went as short as they could to know that they could make it on fuel if it stayed green the rest of the way.
I think that's exactly right. They were trying to push these red tires as far as they possibly can, and I think really in Franchitti's case, push them too far.
Yeah.
Really, you've got to be very careful what you're doing on fuel strategy here, because there's always the potential for yellow flags to come out around here. The tight nature. Ryan Hunter-Ray also now on pit road.
Wide open here.
And of course, anybody who's on reds is going to try and take that strategy. You can see he will go for the black sidewalls. You'll hear that rev limiter. The Chevrolets have a pit road rev limiter to make sure that they get a good pull away. And they got a lot of front. Wait, he stalls it. No, but it's back again. So the anti-stall did prevent him, but he still is not up to speed.
Yeah, still trying to get that anti-stall off. I think you're absolutely right, Jan. Anti-stall problems, but nevertheless, back out.
Precious seconds on the green flag stop. You see Bourdais now carving through lap traffic. That was Simona Di Silvestro at the back of the lead lap. She's now 1 lap down.
And again, a hiccup for Ryan Hunter-Ray when in a strong position. He was a top 5 car, and that time costly. We saw Viso stop, serviced well, and sent. Bourdais now boasts a 2.1 second lead over Will Power. 3rd place man Scott Dixon is in. Kevin's there.
Dixon will hit his box. He's up on near just about a third of the way down. They are going to make the change and get 18.5 gallons of Sunoco fuel. The car has been solid so far for Scott Dixon. He will have to weave around Tony Kanaan. Dixon is out, Jan.
He does, and Tony Kanaan is also on the similar strategy. They expect no changes on the car. We saw a lot of front wing for Ryan Hunter-Ray. Oh, but they're waiting on the fuel. The fuel's not flowing. That's Jimmy Vasser on the radio saying they had to wait for fuel. Boy, that's 2 in a row of long delays on pit road.
A green flag stop with a delay like that, we are talking multiple positions lost.
You can't afford to do it, can you? You've got to have very, very clean fuel stops here. Dixon took around 6 seconds of fuel. We're trying to guess roughly the number of laps on 6 seconds, around 24 to 30 laps. Not entirely sure. When that fuel hose hits the coupling, you've then got to sort of guess when the fuel flow stops. They're not pressurized rigs, they work just on gravity.
machine of Ryan Briscoe. He's had a solid weekend. At the moment, due to pit stops, Ryan runs in the top 5. And here's the crowd favourite. James Hinchcliffe is in the lane.
You can hear the crowd in the background. They're willing him on. They've seen mistakes on pit road. He needs to have none. A little bit slow getting the right rear off, but so far so good. As long as you beat the fuel. Wow, the fuel is fast.
Clear.
Very nice job.
Okay, let's giddy up here. Giddy up.
Same thing for James Jakes. Waiting for fuel for Jakes. Clean for him as well. That's what you need.
Nice work from the Hinchcliffe crew at Andretti Autosport. Meanwhile, have you seen this picture before in open wheel racing? Sebastian Bourdais out in front and increasing his lead. 2.8 seconds now.
I'm watching his lap times. They're still holding now. Will Power is in. Now, when he finishes this stop, where he comes out is the race with Scott Dixon.
Around Sean. We're the second group here. We're the second group. Around him. 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to Tim Cindric on the radio. That is traditional for Penske. They walk them all the way through on the radio. They easily beat the fuel. Very nice stop for Will Power. That's the way you want to get it done.
Marco Andretti comes in, and he's led the second most laps in this series. Hadn't won a race yet. They're putting in blacks. Briscoe comes in. Marco says everything's fine, no changes. He's coming out. Here comes Will Power. He's going to beat him out, boys.
Wow! Nice stop from the Andretti crew.
That's Helio Castroneves that Marco's racing with out of pit lane. Will Power was already there. Here comes Hunter-Reay.
This is Briscoe and Viso going at it.
Cold tires, Steve. No tire warmers here, bud.
No, that's exactly right. You've got to be careful, haven't you, to get them up to temperature before you really try and take the fight to the competition. That's right, no tire warmers.
And this is the hardest thing to do, to come straight out of the pits onto a long straightaway and have to hit the brakes into a tight, 40-mile-an-hour hairpin.
Incredible pit work, I must say, very impressive. And the time to deliver the fuel and the time to change 4 wheels and tires is pretty much the same.
Where is Dixon in relation to Power? Where is Chip Ganassi, Scott Dixon, and Will Power? That's the question we need answered. And also, just when, how much longer is Sebastian Bourdais going to run before he pits? He's getting very, very close to coming in for his first stop of the race. Here's Will Power, clear track ahead.
He's clear track ahead, and he is 3 seconds ahead of Dixon, and that's where Will Power is exceptional. Cold tires and the final few laps before pit stops, the ability to make a gap.
Yeah.
Power's got Sato, Conway, and Wilson, who all need to stop, that buffer him from Scott Dixon.
Here he is. Our leader is in. Sebastian Bourdais.
3, 2, 1, in.
Jay Penske counting Sebastian Bourdais in. He's on the black tires, the primary tires. That's why he and Charlie Kimball could go a little bit longer. Kimball due in soon. He's also on the primaries. And here comes Bourdais back out. Good stop.
And how about Will Power? Where is the Penske machine? Look to the right of your screen. Here comes Will Power. This is the race for the lead of the race.
This is why it's a benefit to go farther on fuel or tires, is the ability to get out, but he's on cold tires. You can see Will giving it everything he's got to get onto that back straightaway.
Power knows this is it.
Will Power's got to take the fight to Sebastian Bourdais now before those tires come up to temperature, but it was very good in-lap work by Bourdais to push that car as hard as he could just prior to that stop to try and open up the best time advantage, and it's at the moment it's paid off for him.
Just barely. Watch Bourdais defend up the inside here.
Shortcut, he can do the shortcut here. Can't quite do it, doesn't do it that time. And Bourdais is on the hustle, Power is on the attack.
Every corner, Bourdais is getting temperature. By the time he gets to the front straightaway, it'll be too late for Power.
It was great work by Bourdais' crew to change the tires. They were waiting on the fuel, so there was certainly no problem whatsoever in terms of the pit crew working well, and Bourdais has really got the advantage now.
Let's give a big pat on the back to the Dragon Racing crew. They're not used to fulfilling pit stops while racing for the lead. That was a pressure situation, and they performed. Inside is Will Power. Look at this. Wow. Will Power forces his way through the inside.
Watch the crossover.
Nice one from the Penske man.
Power's on the button, on the push to pass to defend.
Justin Wilson in.
Wow, can you believe how fast it changes? I was just giving props there to Sebastian Bourdais and his crew for doing all that work, and bang, it's over in a second.
Well, Power was pulling off braking moves like that at Detroit. He was spectacular, but he didn't have anything for Mike Conway. That was very Detroit-esque. Awesome move from Will Power.
Yeah. That to me is Will Power saying, I'm sick and tired of not dominating these street circuits. Let me show you how it's done, buddy.
He goes into a zone of his own on a street course, that is for sure. Behind those guys, Charlie Kimball comes in, Bourdais, Dixon Franchitti, and Hunter Ray.
Charlie Kimball goes longer than everybody else, but he didn't just get to the front because of going longer. He picked up at least 5 spots before the cycle of pit stops began. He wants a little bit more air pressure this time. This is the longer stop. They couldn't get the fuel hose engaged all the way for a moment, so a couple of extra seconds for Charlie Kimball, 11.6.
Yeah, there it is. It's just a couple of seconds. That's all it needs. You've got to be very precise on the engagement of that nozzle to make sure the fuel will flow. And the positioning, Townsend, of the car and the driver to get that point absolutely spot on is essential, because the fuel guy can't move. He's restricted by the hose itself.
Look at this fight further back in the top 10. Andretti, Castro Neves, Hinchcliffe. The fight's on here. And look at how costly that stop was for Tony Kanaan. He's in 11th, Townsend.
Here's Marco knowing that Charlie's on cold tires, trying to stay to the outside. He gets bottled up because Charlie runs wide. Now Castro Neves has got the advantage to the outside. Let's see what happens. This could be close.
And that's the kind of move that Charlie Kimball pulled off last year on his way to a podium, on board with Briscoe.
This is a classic left, right, left, where one guy's got an advantage. If you stay side by side, you're going to have the advantage in the next corner.
Yeah, as it shifts left and right there, Kimball straight over the curves, all 4 wheels over the curves there to try and defend that position.
I love that apex in turn 5 now, because it's sort of an option.
That's right.
You can Baja if you want and drive shorter distance, but you're going to be in the air half the time.
So the revised order. Now look at this, the fight for second. Dixon on Bourdais. Bourdais has the inside. And all while this has been going on, Will Power has skipped away to a 2-second advantage. There it is.
Yeah, and here is that battle between Bourdais and Dixon. There's your shot of Will Power, pulling away nice, as you say, Lee.
Where is the second Ganassi car? Dario Franchitti is 4.5 seconds back.
This is sweet news for him, because that gap is closing with Dario back there. This could be a 3-person race for second place soon.
There's your race leader, Will Power, in the Verizon Penske Chevrolet. Oh, Graham Rahal and Tristan Vautier.
Oh, and that is in that single lane we've talked about after the apex of turn 3. There is really only enough room for one car. We've seen this so many times here at Toronto.
No, because it's stalled.
So under full course caution, drama here too for Takuma Sato. AJ Foyt Racing.
Yeah, big
Looks
drop.
like into the gearbox.
It looked like the rear wing was off the car, wasn't it?
Well, maybe they've got a gearbox issue.
Yeah.
Come on, where are these guys?
This is a strange local yellow.
Relax, full course yellow.
Full course yellow now. We did see the double yellows at the start-finish line. Vautier is on the right of your screen. Oh, and tags.
I have to say Vautier's forcing the issue. He did not have the side-by-side run necessary to hold that position. Classic defensive move by Graham, right up the inside. Now here, Vautier, he's got a wheel on Graham, but he loses a little bit there and then tries to hang in there, and you just can't do that through that section. It's too narrow.
Yeah.
What a shame, after Graham Rahal was one of the biggest movers in the field in this race in the first 34 laps.
Turning around.
So full course caution. Field bunches up. That helps Dario Franchitti's cause and many others, like Ryan Hunter-Reay, who sits in 5th after that slow stop. EJ Viso has made nice progress. And you can understand Graham Rahal's frustration. So as we take a breath, let's show you that replay of the move for the lead that Will Power pulled on Sebastian Bourdais.
And Bourdais sort of defends halfway. He's kind of middle of the road. I'm not sure he expected Power to have such a good run off the last corner.
So there's been some terrific racing while we're under caution. We'll go for a break. Back to Toronto right after this.
When you pay too much for cable, you feel powerless. When you feel powerless, you want to take the power back. When you want to take the power back, you take karate. When you take karate, you want to use your karate. When you want to use your karate, you become the fist of goodness. When you become the fist of goodness, you run along rooftops. And when you run along rooftops, you fall into a dinner party. Don't fall into a dinner party. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Monster waves. Too fast, too scary. Until an ingenious idea changed everything. Tow-in surfing. Courageous thinking. It's how we engineered the Mazda 3. Skyactiv technology gives it 40 highway MPG. This is the Mazda way, and this is the Mazda 3. What do you drive? Get the 2013 Mazda 3 with either 1,000 customer cash or 0% APR for 60 months, plus 500 APR cash. Stop sell.
Give me your street circuits, your ovals. Give me your road courses and your cathedrals of speed. Give me drivers who live to put it all on the line and cars unlike any other. Because this is America, and here we race IndyCar.
Next stop, the Indy Toronto.
Under caution, a quick reminder, in 3 weeks the NBC Sports Network is proud to present live coverage of the Auctions America California event from Burbank. And the man sitting right next to me, Steve Matchett, will be there along with Bill Patrick to take a look at cars that include beautiful ones like this, a 64 Shelby Cobra, the 57 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster, and a 1947 Chrysler New Yorker Town and Country convertible. There's 7 hours of live coverage. You up for it, Steve?
I'm up for it. If I had a checkbook, I would take it with me.
And that's on August the 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern. That is the Auctions America California event. Some new programming to the NBC Sports Network. So, power leads the way. It has been quite the race, and we're not even halfway there yet. Kevin?
Well, Sebastian Bourdais' car is not as good right now as it was in the first stint. He thinks that they dropped the air pressures a little bit too much, so he was bottoming out a little bit just most recently when Power got the lead back. So we'll see what he has as we come back. As Lee mentioned, just not quite halfway through. It's been thrilling so far. Stay with us from Toronto. Race number 1 of 2 this weekend, the Honda Indy Toronto. Will Power looking for his first win of the season.
Inside yours. Keep pushing here, bud. That's turn 4, spotter. Turn 4's clear.
Streaming 4-in-1 Mosaic.
Inside. One push to fast left. Be smart here.
Live pit crew chatter. Riding shotgun from green flag to checkered. That's powerful. Download IndyCar 13 now, only from Verizon.
Progress isn't about where you've been. It's about where you're going. The new Ram 1500. Best in class 25 mpg. North American Truck of the Year. The Truck of Texas. Better residual value than Ford and Chevy. It's the fastest growing truck brand in America. Guts. Glory. Ram.
The drivers of Quicken Loans. Elio Castroneves, Ryan Newman, Will Power, and Tony Stewart. They are engineered to accelerate, engineered to dominate, engineered with muscle and brains, engineered for victory lane. For a home loan experience that's just as amazing as our drivers, call Quicken Loans, engineered to amaze.
Jessica, there's something I want to ask you.
Yes?
When I'm switching to winter tires, do I have to change all 4, or can I just put 2 on the front axle? I don't know.
There's a better place to ask questions about your tires. TireRack.com. Right now, get a $50 Firestone prepaid MasterCard and a Turbo Movie Pack when you buy a set of 4 select Firestone tires. For details, go to TireRack.com/TV. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Race 1 of this double-header race weekend. The Honda Indy 2 in Toronto continues here on your home of open-wheel racing, the NBC Sports Network. Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, our special guest, Steve Matchett, with us, along with Jan Beekes, Kevin Lee, and Brian Till. There is the 1987 winner of this race, Bobby Rahal, and his son, Graham. First year. Look at this. This is a replay of a little bit earlier. And this is what caused the full course caution. Whew. How do you describe that, Townsend? Just a little clumsy.
Well, as I said earlier,
overzealous?
I didn't think Vautier had enough distance there to stay there. At the same time, Graham could have left a little safety move here. You see a little French-American stuff going on there.
Brian Till is there with Bobby Rahal. Brian?
Yeah, Bobby Rahal looking on, and I know you had a long conversation with Graham on the radio. He's not happy, but the car seems to be okay. What do you need to do to get him settled down, to get focused on the job at hand?
Oh, we are. I mean, it took him so long to start him that, I don't know why they started Vautier first, but, so be it. And, it just took them 3 laps to start him. These guys are super slow. And so we're out of it. We're just going to use this as a test session for tomorrow now.
Remember, we got a double header here this weekend, and Graham Rahal needs to find some speed for tomorrow. Kevin?
Tom Wirtz is the strategist for Charlie Kimball. What's the game plan for him? It's working great so far.
We're just trying to keep our pace up, stay where we're at, attack the leader. I mean, we've had a good run that first stint, and, we're on these reds now. We'll see how, everybody else was kind of falling off a little bit. We were kind of judging them, and so I think we're just going to hang in there and see what happens.
Good luck. Tom Wirtz.
Tom and engineer Brad Goldberg, quite the team, and they're pushing this man here, Charlie Kimball. This was here a year ago, and this is he and Graham Rahal going at it, and things didn't work out so well there. But he's fighting now with Simon Pagenaud, and these two went at it for lap after lap after lap, and then towards the end of the race, check this move from Kimball in turn 3. It was brilliant. Kanaan, Pagenaud, and then watch this.
Thank
Up
you very
the
much.
inside.
That's right.
Charlie says, thank you, I'll just slide on through here. And to make 2 in 1. And then, of course, more recently, last weekend, Charlie was second in that 1-2-3 for Target Chip Ganassi Racing.
Paired up, pace cars are in.
Finally, the pace car is off the track. Look at those Ganassi cars ready to pounce. Everybody's ready to run. It's Will Power who will see the green flag first. Let's go back to racing. Bourdais on the outside. Franchitti, Dixon, they're in there. Kimball is on the inside. Hunter Ray has the middle slot. Little contact there between Hunter Ray and one of the Ganassi cars. On board with our leader.
Bourdais really pushed the issue straight at the restart, but he's dropped back now.
And he's under pressure, Steve. Big pressure on the way up to turn 3. Scott Dixon on the inside of Sebastian Bourdais. Got it done.
I think Sebastian Bourdais will be complaining again that the tyre pressures are too low. He was saying that the car was perfectly all right on that first set of tyres.
Oh, this is not good. 3 wide trying to go through that kink.
Look to the inside. Oh, Hinch takes the shortcut. Nice one. There's Kimball on the outside. These two guys who have made good progress. But nobody more than Charlie Kimball, who's made up 9 positions from his starting spot. Back up front. This is for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And all the while, Power's been able to escape again.
It's helpful that the guys behind him have to battle. Scott Dixon impressively pulling off that pass without using any push to pass on the back straightaway with Bourdais, but Power is trying to put his head down and check out. Now that long yellow really helps Bourdais here because he still has to run the red tires, and it shortens the final stint for him that he's got to stay on reds.
Yeah, shortens the final stint. And again, I understand that there's a possibility that Dragon racing engineers drop the tyre pressures for Sebastian Bourdais, and that could have made the car balance fall away from Bourdais, and the bottom of the car was bottoming in too much, and I think that's what's catching him out now. I think that was the advantage that Dixon had on him.
That was Tristan Vautier performing a drive-through penalty for avoidable contact. Has Kimball got a problem? Kevin.
They feared there was something broke or bent on the left rear. The tires were out. The crew was ready to go to assess it, but they just changed their mind, so Kimball is going to stay on track for now.
Look at the Andretti Autosport teammates going at it. EJ Viso in that Sitco car and the yellow car there of Ryan Hunter-Ray. That is Tony Kanaan right behind, and then Charlie Kimball, the driver we were talking about. Everything seems to be all right now.
Put it in the hands of the driver and let Kimball decide whether or not the car feels safe.
Yeah. A little bit of radio communication going on there. The green car in the background is James Hinchcliffe. He maintains his position in the top 10 in 9th. It's still Will Power, Scott Dixon, Sebastian Bourdais, Dario Franchitti. Let's enjoy the ride up Lakeshore.
165, 170, 175. Wow.
Listen to how gingerly you have to pick up the power there in that hairpin. It's a lot of respect to those rear tires.
Think about the pressure on this young man, James Hinchcliffe. For the best part of 20 years, Paul Tracy PT was the hero, the hometown hero. Now that is Hinch's. We're on board with Ryan Briscoe. That's Marco Andretti going right around the outside of his teammate James Hinchcliffe and almost pulled it off.
There is just enough width on the track to get 3 cars there.
That's right, when Townsend Bell flinched in between Steve and I and said, oh, that doesn't go. And there he is. There is Hinch right behind. Is Elio Castro Neves running 10th. Marco's another position further back in 11th, and Simon Pagenaud is 12th. Only half a second. Here we go. This is it between Power and Dixon. Penske and Ganassi. The two monster teams, the power teams that went for so long this year without a victory, now are back on top.
All weekend, I felt like Scott Dixon and Dario Franchitti had the strongest consistency over long runs, and we're about to find out if that holds true here. Will Power seemed a little tail happy on setup all throughout practice and qualifying. Scott Dixon, Iceman, cool as can be as usual.
Yeah, Dario Franchitti was saying the same thing, that the car wasn't working quite as well on the blacks as it was on the reds, on the softer tyres, but nevertheless, all in all, that car is working very well.
Hey, Lee, you know what? Scott Dixon, it doesn't matter if he wins a race or something breaks or somebody takes him out. He's got the greatest demeanor. You probably have to have that driving for Ganassi to start with, but he's been there a long time. He never gets too high or too low, and I think you see it here. And I think Will Power has really changed. He always had that maniac look in his eye that everything had to be, had all that pressure on himself. He looks like he's calmed down a little bit, too. I mean, he's been joking about, I'm an oval track specialist now. So I really think maybe Will's starting to just, chill out a little bit, because he was always putting so much pressure on himself. Maybe starting to act a little more like Scotty D.
Well, remember Dixon all the way back at round 1, Robin, where he started something like 20th and worked his way right up to the final seconds of the race to 5th. I saw his manager, Stefan Johansson, at the airport that night in Florida, and he said that's the kind of drive that wins championships. And here is Dixon in the top 5 in the championship. He made up 3 positions last weekend, and this is only round 12 of 19 rounds. Dixon is nowhere near out of it. He is on to win this championship. What can Will Power do? It's only lap 46 of 85. So much more to come.
Sign a waiver? Waiver?
Two seats, one for you and one for racing legend Mario Andretti. The fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. Enter for a chance to start an IZOD IndyCar Series race at shophonda.com.
Water was boring, so we changed it into a drink you can flavor your way. With Mio, add it to water, flavor it the way you want. Nothing's exploding. Let's change that. Mio is awesome!
Your car may have been born in 1997. But give it a new set of Firestone tires, and it could feel like it's fresh off the lot. Whatever you drive a Firestone.
What if Bud Light created the world's biggest stage? And through the music experience of a lifetime. In every single state. On the exact same day.
For a chance to see artists like Miguel, Ludacris, and Dierks Bentley, check out budlight.com/musicfirst. 50 shows, 50 states, one day.
Here we go.
Superstar Robbie Keane leads the two-time defending league champion LA Galaxy against Darlington Nagby and the Portland Timbers. All rise for MLS tonight at 11 p.m. on the NBC Sports Network. Two great races on one network. Formula One racing lines up with the Hungarian Grand Prix live Sunday, July 28th at 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Then Honda Indy Toronto concludes live tomorrow at 3 Eastern, all on the NBC Sports Network.
Let's bring you up to speed. If you've just turned on, what happened? We were all excited about the first ever standing start in the IZOD IndyCar Series. It did not happen. The start was aborted. Joseph Newgarden's car had trouble, and we kind of had a delayed start, if you wish. Then there was a terrific pass for the lead. Sebastian Bourdais on an ailing Dario Franchitti, who was in tyre trouble. Will Power was opportunistic as well to slot into second place. We scoot ahead to lap 32 after some stops, and look at Will Power. That was a decisive move.
It was a fantastic move, and that was right after that great pit stop from Bourdais, but it didn't pay off in the end.
And then this brought out our first full course yellow.
Graham Rahal, Tristan Vautier running out of room. You know, Vautier got a drive-through penalty for that. I'm not quite sure that was warranted. That was close quarters racing. It just didn't work out.
We welcome you back. And the race lead is 0.6 of a second. That's what it looks like right there. Will Power to Scott Dixon. Dion Beekes.
And that is the view that every driver wants. You want to lead and see this in your mirrors. Now for Will Power, you have mentioned about how his car's a little tail happy. He and his engineer, David Faustino, have been chasing it all weekend and been doing a great job. Kevin?
Well, Scott Dixon and the Target Chip Ganassi team found something. They skipped the Pocono test a week and a half ago, went to Sebring, and they found some of the mechanical grip they've been searching for. It helped the Pocono, and it's helping here. Right behind him, there you see Sebastian Bourdais having a great run so far today. The tire pressure temperature's back up to normal. The car is better now for Bourdais, and he's still in the chase. Brian?
Dario Franchitti and his team, they may regret the decision to leave him out on the reds for so long. He had complained for 4 laps, but a big problem that has dropped him back. They're running on blacks right now, but can Dario work his way back up? That will be the challenge, looking for his first win of the season. EJ Viso, he's having everything go his way. Made some changes after a warm-up and qualifying for round 2 this morning. That car now absolutely magic. One of the fastest cars on track, Jan.
And he's got a lot of pressure from Tony Kanaan. Tony Kanaan loves his black sidewall tires. He likes them better than the reds. In fact, he wants to finish the race on them. Now for Ryan Hunter-Reay, he has not been having a good time. First he had understeer. Then he said the brakes were a problem. Now he says, guys, I just can't find the grip.
There's Charlie Kimball right behind Ryan Hunter-Reay. He's ready to challenge him. He wasn't entirely happy yesterday, and he said the great thing about this team, I know my 2 teammates, Scott Dixon and Dario Franchitti, are great here, and I'm going to do what they're doing. Jan?
And there's a bit of a gap until you get to James Hinchcliffe, and anytime you see that bright green GoDaddy car and you see a move, the fans go crazy. Obviously, he is the hometown hero, but he just cannot seem to keep the consistent run going with Castro Neves following. Castro Neves, of course, this weekend had high hopes, especially when you see his teammate Will Power out front. But he is saying that he also is having such a difficult time across the patches. He is getting towards turn number 1. He says that big patch is the one that's causing him trouble all day. For Marco Andretti, he's right behind. Now, funny enough, Marco Andretti is not always all smiles when it comes to talking about his car, but when they rolled his car off the first day, he was happy and said, we just need to fine-tune. I think this is a weekend when Andretti team started well, but now they're fading a bit.
Simon Pagenaud in the HP car is running where he started, 12th, as we see Viso go off and lose a couple of positions there. Pagenaud has been dealing with brake issues all weekend, but they think they have that sorted out. It's okay in the race. Tires going away early, but he just radioed in. The car is much better right now, Brian.
Trying to find balance out here today is a little bit difficult as EJ Viso loses a couple of positions. Ryan Briscoe a little bit loose early on that stop. They made a front wing adjustment. The car seems to have settled down just a bit. So Briscoe having a decent run right now. Alex Tagliani in 14th, looking to have a better run than they've had for the last 6 races. Their best race of the season, the very first round at St. Pete. This team needs a good finish. So Alex Tagliani right now trying to move forward. Justin Wilson in the number 19. Well, they had a good car for qualifying, but then an electrical problem in the second qualifying session caused them to lose major straightaway speed. He didn't qualify where he wanted to for round 2, and that problem has existed once again here in round one. So that's a bit of a problem. Mike Conway thought that he would have a good car. They put the same setup on it that he won with in Detroit on the number 18. Didn't turn out the way that he wanted to. He's been struggling with balance. Ed Carpenter improving week in and week out, but he's kind of sad to see the ovals go away. Even though his lap times are considerably faster than they've been in the past, they're still not close enough.
James Jakes was one of those very disappointed. He radioed that in, that they didn't use the standing start. He said all weekend, he's one of the few that said, I'm really looking forward to that. He has not been able to make his way through the field. Remember, he had a great run on the street course of Detroit. He said it really doesn't transfer here, but he thought he was going to be better than what he is. Behind him, we'll find Simona Di Silvestro. The car was not good yesterday. Severely lacking rear grip as we see Simona there coming into the picture. And it's a little bit better this morning, but she's not been able to make up any ground, or at least not much here in the race. She started 22nd, right now running in the 19th position.
This is EJ Viso with his second stop, Helio Castro Neves.
Watch me. Go, 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 go.
We're right now in that second pit stop window. Yeah, I see a lot of cars now starting to come into the pits as we serve at lap 52. Remember, Sebastian Bourdais has still yet to use those red tyres, those soft tyres, which will be advantageous to him, but he needs to push them as this stint as long as he possibly can. He wants to stay off those red tyres, Townsend, as long as he can, but not to the point where he's dropping lap times on the blacks.
Well, it's going to be all about in and out laps if this stays green for the pit stops of Will Power and Scott Dixon. It's going to come down to who can get it done on cold tires and in that final lap before you pit. EJ Viso on those reds said, I want these off as quick as possible. So that last stint, 32 laps for Viso. These guys are going to be well in to be able to run full fuel. Pagano in pits.
Watch your speed. Let's get good position here.
That's Rob Edwards.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
He counts them in. The radio is just a little bit delayed. That's why you hear him into the box before you heard Rob finish the countdown. They have a sticker black set to go on here for this final stint. And Pagano is away.
Of course, he won the second race of our first doubleheader of the year at Belle Isle in Detroit. Scott Dixon has never won. It's one of the few circuits he has not won on in his IZOD IndyCar Series career. He finished second here a couple of years ago, and here he is storming after Will Power. There's less than a second between these two.
Yeah, they're very close indeed. Scott Dixon dropped down below 1 minute about 4 laps ago, got into the 59s. All the cars around him are just over 1 minute, but Scott Dixon pushing onto the back of Will Power.
That's the difference of lines between Viso and Pagano. That was great.
One a little bit more respectful than the other. Here is James Hinchcliffe for his final stop.
Here we are again now. This fuel delivery time becomes shorter and shorter every time.
And guys, for James, you'll notice he has a sticker set of reds, and the reason being he got eliminated in the first qualifying session. There's a very nice stop and fresh tires.
Come on in here, there's guys coming.
Yeah, these pit stops now, at this point in the race, we're now serving lap 54. Fuel delivery time must be down to around 6 seconds to deliver enough fuel to get to the end of the race. So the tyre guys are really going to be after on their game, because I think fuel delivery and tyre change times now must be almost neck and neck.
Will Power has now led 24 laps of the race. That is the most of any driver. Franchitti led 20 early on, but this is Power's race to win.
Every lap that we go into this stint here deeper and deeper, I believe, helps Sebastian Bourdais, who's 4 seconds back, but is going to run reds at the end. He needs to stay in the low 20s for that final stint, I think, for the reds to hang on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What Sebastian Bourdais got to do now is just keep in contention with these guys up front. Remember, the advantage will come to Bourdais. The tyres are much grippier, those red tyres.
James Jakes making his final stop. A little bit slow getting the fuel nozzle in there. That's going to cost him. They're not in contention for a win today, but they're still trying to learn some things. Keep in mind, this if it's not going well, it becomes a test session to see what you can learn for this race here tomorrow afternoon.
Boy, James Jakes had a poor pit stop there. Bad job getting the fuel hose on there. Didn't couple in correctly, but that helped the right front tyre changer, who was having a bad time getting his wheel on. So actually, it worked out okay for the team. A bad pit stop, but they both finished at the same time.
Sebastian Bourdais closing the gap about 2, 3, 4 tenths of a second per lap to the leaders here. And again, the further the leaders can go here, it shortens the amount of time the fuel has to go in. It makes it about tires.
3, 2, 1.
This is a replay of the James Jakes stop.
Now that wiggle, you wonder, why is it so hard to get that nozzle in? That nozzle with a hose full of fuel weighs, I don't know, 40, 50 pounds.
Yeah, it's very difficult. You've got to be incredibly precise. Ryan Hunter-Reay into the pits. Look how fast they're working now. A little bit front wing adjustment. Oh, no!
This is the second time that's happened this race. There goes Charlie Kimball.
Now, what I didn't hear out of Hunter-Reay is that Chevy has what's called a pit limiter for that very situation. I didn't hear his engine up on the limiter like you're normally instructed as a Chevy driver. I know that obviously from the Indy 500. That's what you normally hear is a foot full of revs. So perhaps they're having an issue, or perhaps Hunter-Reay was a little slow to get that going, but that is just terrible for your position on track.
Look at this on the inside. Charlie Kimball challenging James Hinchcliffe. Wow, wheel to wheel. Hinch is not going to get muscled out of that one.
He's watched 27 of these Toronto races, and he certainly has learned every bit of the old over-under, the side-by-side move, as I should say. That was textbook. Fantastic. Close quarters racing.
Exhibition place track. It's only 1.7 miles long, but it has got a little bit of everything. A lock up there from Kimball in his pursuit of Hinchcliffe.
I think racetrack designers around the world should take note of a slow corner to a long straightaway to a slow corner followed by a kink the other direction, because it allows that to happen.
Up front, 1 and 2 are coming into traffic. James Jakes is the first one that Will Power will see. This is a great scrap up front. Penske versus Ganassi. Dragon Racing is third with Sebastian Bourdais. Dario is in, the first of the Ganassi boys.
3, 2, 1.
Fuel not taking long at all to go in on these final stops. As you guys just said, we saw that a little bit earlier with Ryan Briscoe. Now Dario Franchitti out on blacks. What does he have to take to the checker?
There you go. That was a nice stop.
So the run home. When will these guys come in? That's the question. And how long can Sebastian Bourdais stay out to keep that last stint short, like Townsend's been saying?
And what is lap traffic going to do here? Are these guys going to lay over easy, or are they going to fight like Newgarden here? I mean, Newgarden's 51 laps down. Presumably he'll pull over, but it's not that easy. You start losing air off your front wing well back of where it seems obvious.
The other person to keep an eye out for is Tony Kanaan. TK, the Indy 500 winner, is only 3.5 seconds behind race leader Will Power. Keep an eye out for the KV Racing man.
And Bourdais doing a great job now, just over 2 seconds. It was 2.1, gone up a little bit to 3 seconds, that gap. Power and Dixon trying to get away. Bourdais trying to chase them down, knowing he's going to have that advantage. And again, the further and further you can push the cars now, that'll advantage will come in the pits.
But you got open pits. Don't get sucked in too quick.
That's Jimmy Vasser on the radio. An amendment. He has chosen to go with the black sidewall tires. He likes them better, and he has a sticker set to use. So he's not going with reds. It's an alternate strategy, but that's a quick stop. That's just about 9 seconds. Brian?
Mike Conway in the 18, and he's gone to reds for this final run. Will be interesting to see. This is a long way to go on red tires, especially in the heat of the day.
25 laps to go.
This is shaping up to be a fantastic finish. Again, only 25 laps. Bourdais is going to run red tires on the last stint. These guys are going to really battle it out in pit lane and on those cold tire laps, the out and the in laps. So I think it's going to stack up beautifully.
And Townsend, if you look at the performance of the red tires at the start of the race, 25 laps is pushing the performance of these tires. Of course, the way Indy works, we are refueling, so it's put into separate stints. They're not running a full tank of fuel from start to finish.
That's Tim Cindric on the radio with Will Power telling him to pit now.
Yeah.
Tim Cindric is the president of Penske Racing. That was the voice you just heard. So what will Dixon do? Is Dixon going to follow suit or try and stay out another lap and leapfrog him that way?
Typically, Dixon, if he's got the fuel, is going to want to stay out an extra lap. That way he can be the last to pit and he can get the track position advantage on Will Power.
I think you've got it. I think you're absolutely right. I wouldn't want to pit at the same time now. I don't know why you'd want to do that. If you've got enough fuel for another lap, you want to put a flyer in. No!
Scott Dixon! Good catch.
I think
just saves it. He just lost a little bit.
Scott Dixon, I was doing exactly what we're describing. He's trying to get an absolute flyer. He's stayed out. Now you've got to push. Now.
Wow. Dixon, it was a good save. It was a mistake, but it was a save. And now Power's in the lane.
Yeah.
And, of course, Power would have seen that in the mirror, so he knows he might have a little bit to work with. They're deciding to go with a sticker set of black, so a similar strategy to Tony Kanaan. Oh, you got a little fuel spill. That's why the water comes in handy. We definitely had some fuel leaking there, but they got it dissipated right away.
Yeah, around 6 seconds of fuel delivery. It was a fast stop. Tires and fuel absolutely neck and neck. But now what can Scott Dixon do on this lap?
Wide open. 3, 2, 1.
Marco Andretti is at the very end of pit road, and they've actually moved the pit boxes so he has a little better exit. They've put some of the Firestone and the series timing stands. It was a nice exit for Andretti.
Here's Dixon. Here's Dixon. Is it going to be this lap, or does he stay at another one?
He's in.
Dixon's in.
Yeah, he's pushing now. We need an excellent pit stop. Absolutely everything's got to go right here.
And you heard the voice of Tim Cindric say to Will Power, we need a big out lap. Yeah. They know Dixon is coming. Here we go.
Well, Dixon was very, very strong on the in lap.
There we see Will Power on the left. On the right side of the screen is Scott Dixon, his final stop. We'll be watching them blend back in. A brilliant stop for Scott Dixon's team. They're back out, and we'll take a look and see where they blend in. Dixon trying to win 2 in a row.
Oh, it's going to be close. This is going to be really close. Watch for Power on the right. Here comes the Penske man.
Wow,
down into turn 1. Dixon's got him, but it's only momentarily.
Oh, and Will makes a little bobble on the throttle. They will both be on the button here. Dixon on the button, Power on the button.
Dixon on cold tyres, remember, coming out of the pits. Now is the time for Will Power to try and take the fight. He's got to make hay now.
He does not need to force the inside.
Whoa!
That was huge.
He did not need to do that.
Townsend, you just called it.
He did not need to force the inside. He had hot tires. He could have gone to the outside.
Townsend, man, you absolutely called it spot on. He didn't need to do it.
Great driving from Scott Dixon and Will Power.
Let's hit our mark.
Let's go in. This is an important stop for this man too.
Jay Penske counting in Sebastian Bourdais. Dragon Racing is the only current IndyCar team that has not won an IndyCar race. They've got a chance. Remember, a little slower in the track as those two cars up front battle. Let's see if Bourdais can get out in front of them.
Is this going to happen to Will Power 2 laps in a row? Here comes Sebastian on the left. Watch for this down the straight. There's the Dragon Racing man. Dixon's gone by. Now Power. He slips into second. The Frenchman is in second. Now will Power be a little calmer this time around heading up to turn 3?
He's got a huge run. He lost a little downforce there through turn 2.
I don't think he's going to be capacious at all because it's time to take the fight to Bourdais now.
There it is.
Growing impatient is Will Power. He's got the outside run. You can pull this off, but not that time.
But Power defended beautifully, gliding across that apex to take away the outside line.
Wow, what incredible racing, both from Dixon, Bourdais and Power. It hasn't gone Power's way, but fantastic in-lap by Dixon and teamwork to get Dixon to the front of this race.
Look at Jay Penske. He knows that was a critical move. They are on red tires. A couple more corners here. Bourdais is going to be flat on it on those softer reds.
Now the question is, can Bourdais now take the fight to Scott Dixon in the closing 20 laps of this race? Look at this angry little bunch.
Oh!
And it ends in tears.
And Briscoe stalls there behind as well.
Can you keep going? Are you all right?
Charlie Kimball, after a really strong run today, we go under yellow for the second time, full course.
Wow. Change your wings, you can be all right.
Justin Wilson, Charlie Kimball, Ryan Briscoe. And it ends like that.
Yeah, and this is going to be a big advantageous move now to Bourdais to protect those red tyres. They're soft, the durability is not there, but running behind the safety car will certainly add to the durability of those tyres in the closing laps. That's a big advantage to Bourdais. A bad move, really, in terms of advantageous move for Power. Dixon looking good at the moment.
This is the counterpoint to the fun we were having watching these guys use all the real estate here, is the uncertainty of the trailing car with the car in front of how much curb is somebody going to use.
Right.
Let's relive some of those magical moments from earlier. This is Will Power on Scott Dixon. Woof! That's how quickly it happened.
You know, I got on Will there. He didn't need to go to the inside, but I think he was surprised.
One on the right.
He was surprised at how early Dixon braked.
Yep. Look how close this was. This will show it graphically.
Ooh.
The closing rate was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Power did a good job to keep it out of the wall there. And then now a replay, transitioning to a replay. You're on board with Briscoe looking at Wilson. And Kimball's up ahead. There goes Justin on the inside. Boof.
Ow!
That's how that happened. Now, how did Saavedra end up in on Kimball there, because Saavedra's stuck in on Kimball. He must have come around and got caught by surprise.
It's a bit of a blind corner. There probably were waving yellows in that corner. Let's see. Let this run here for a second and see if Saavedra comes zipping in.
So the whole Matro safety crew are there to help Ryan Briscoe. There, Saavedra's been able to get going again. There's obviously no major damage. He just arrived on the scene and got surprised. There is actually damage to the left of the wing, front wing. So, as we normally do, there's a caution, there's a yellow. We'll squeeze in a break so we can show you more racing. Wow, there's only 20 to go. Hang on. Back in Toronto, great to have you with us. Our live coverage of round 12 of the IZOD IndyCar Series. This is the Honda Indy 2 in Toronto, and you're looking at Panther Racing's Ryan Briscoe, and he's nursing an injured wrist. This was a topic of discussion in the drivers' meeting this morning as well, about the high incidence of wrist and hand injuries. This is on board with Briscoe, and he's about to get tangled up in this incident between Justin Wilson, Charlie Kimball, and Ryan kind of was the innocent bystander there. He had nowhere to go.
Not a huge hit, but because the kickback comes through the steering system and his hands are still on the wheel, it's a lot like Tony Kanaan from Long Beach. He can barely pull off his own helmet. He needs help to pull off his gloves.
Dr. Terry Trammell and his staff have been doing in-depth research as to the incidence of thumb, hand, wrist injuries in recent years. And they're studying it and working to develop technology to try and avoid that and lower that within these cars. There is the Fuzzies machine of Ed Carpenter. Brian had a report a little earlier about how he's improved dramatically on road and street courses, and he got a little bit lucky on that rotation of stops and that yellow there as well.
He did get lucky, but in fairness to Ed, he was on the lead lap, which is big. On Ed's scorecard, that's huge for him. He's on the tail end of the lead lap. Yellow comes out as he hits pit lane. Now he's sitting 9th with a restart and 15 laps to go in the race.
The HP on board for Simon Pagenaud. And while we've got a moment, quick reminder about the Formula One World Championship continues on your home of open wheel racing, the NBC Sports Network. Next up, in a couple of weeks' time, the Hungarian Grand Prix, and you'll see that, as always, at 7:30 in the morning with our F1 Countdown presented by Mercedes-Benz, and then the lights go out at 8 Eastern. Sunday, July 28th, the Hungarian Formula One Grand Prix. So, we want to show you as much green flag racing as possible. So let's squeeze in another break. We'll come back to Exhibition Place after this and go for it.
Command has been given. Row 1, let me know. Row 1 on.
Live in-car cameras.
Race car rolling.
4-in-1 Mosaic. Having your heart race as fast as theirs.
Here we go. Hey, good for green.
That's powerful. Download IndyCar 13 now, only from Verizon. When you pay too much for cable, you feel powerless. When you feel powerless, you want to take the power back. When you want to take the power back, you take karate. When you take karate, you want to use your karate. When you want to use your karate, you become the fist of goodness. When you become the fist of goodness, you run along rooftops. And when you run along rooftops, you fall into a dinner party. Don't fall into a dinner party. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
The British are coming! Oh, wait. It's the Italians. The Italians are coming!
The 5-passenger Fiat 500L. It's a big new world.
This is going to start a revolution.
You may ask one question.
Which tire category should I choose to get the most comfortable ride?
There's a better place to ask questions about your tires. TireRack.com. Right now, get a $50 Firestone prepaid MasterCard and a Turbo Movie Pack when you buy a set of 4 select Firestone tires. For details, go to TireRack.com/TV. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
back just in time to see the green flag fly. This is going to be an awesome run to the end. Let's go racing. And look at Sebastian Bourdais. He leapt off that final turn, down into turn 1. Dixon locks it up. Franchitti is in the mix. Dario goes around the outside of Scott. And Will Power is in 4th place.
Could that be the advantage of those red tires? He only has 17 laps, 16 laps to go. Hinch has got a flat.
The hometown hero is in trouble. He has never finished better than 14th in this race and in a prime position to pounce. He's got major tyre dramas on that right rear.
He might not have a flat. He might just have bodywork rubbing at this point, but if he stays out, it will be a flat.
Yeah, I wonder whether or not perhaps that rear pod behind the tyre has been pushed onto the rubber. Whatever it is, it's certainly smoking heavy.
This is fantastic for Bourdais. I mean, after all they've been through, to be on reds, to be disappearing off into the sunset, at least at the start of this stint. We'll see how long they can stand, hang in there, and to start the race on blacks as well.
Well, that was a risk, wasn't it? We were going to see how well those.
Great job, buddy. 15 to go.
Yeah, it is. Great job. 15 to go. Yeah, there's the damage onto the right rear pod behind the right rear tyre on Hinchcliffe's car. It was causing that smoking.
Whoa, look at Tony Kanaan carry a beautiful slide through one. Conway should have a little bit of a run here.
Caution helped Mike Conway. It elevated him up. He's now vying for 8th place, fighting with Tony Kanaan. Up front. Look at this. Dixon is now as close to Bourdais. Dario runs wide, and he loses 3rd spot to Will Power.
Did not expect this early, Steve.
On, good.
I did not expect this early to see Bourdais already struggling on reds.
Yeah.
This will be a good fight here. We told you about it in the pre-race show. The rivalry between Franchitti and Power. Are we going to see the next phase? Hey, we've got an update from Race Control. They're saying they're going to review the restart. They're going to review the restart.
I don't think either of us are surprised at that. That was...
was it a little too good from the Dragon Racing
I
man?
need to see it again, but it looked pretty fantastic. Maybe too fantastic.
Well, maybe too fantastic. Yeah, we'll have to have another look at it.
Now, the rule is, as soon as you see green or hear green, you can start passing.
Here we go. Dixon at the front. Bourdais out there.
Now, that'll all come down to when the green flag was displayed and if Bourdais was hearing green on the radio.
Look at this, up into turn 3 again. Dixon relentless in his pursuit on Sebastian Bourdais.
Well, they both run incredible races to be where they are on different strategies, and they are incredibly close. The competition is tight, and it is a very tight and winding track. And I have to say, at the moment, that safety car period would certainly have helped Bourdais in these closing laps by taking the pressure off those reds. But as you say, Townsend, they don't seem to be working as well now as they should do.
If you remember back in Long Beach, the reds were aided by rubber going down, so at the end of the race at Long Beach, the concrete was rubbered in, the reds didn't wear as quickly. Here, we're seeing pretty rapid degradation.
Hinchcliffe has been able to stay out and maintain a top 10 spot. Relief for the mayor of Hinchtown. He's looking at Conway, Kanaan, and up ahead, Castro Neves and Marco Andretti in the top 5. Nothing between our lead 2. You're talking about a guy leading the race who is in the top 10 of all-time race winners. Sebastian Bourdais. Check this out. This is down into turn 1. Who clipped Hinchcliffe?
That was Ed.
It was Ed Carpenter who tagged the back of the GoDaddy machine. That's what it looks like. 1 to 2, 2 to 3. And Power still shadowing Franchitti, trying to get on the podium. What a race. An aborted start. We've had crashes, unbelievable passes, 2 full course cautions, and a little bit of everything, and we're going to do it all again tomorrow.
Look at this cluster, and Mike Conway has got the bit between his teeth. He's thinking, finally, my car's come alive here. I'm P8, I'm on reds, and I'm going to the front.
12 laps to go.
And Conway is the biggest mover in this field, making up 12 positions from where he started.
Look at Conway all over the back of Kanaan. Kanaan has 1 push to pass left. Conway has 2. Let's see if he uses one here.
The yellow Sunny machine is the one you're looking for. Englishman Mike Conway, who dominated the first of the doubleheader in Detroit. He's not close enough to TK. Now at this stage of the race, when they're this close, it's usually when it ends in tears here in Toronto. The boys don't play too well in these tight confines, but so far so good.
Well, don't forget you've got Castroneves, Kanaan, Hinchcliffe, Tagliani, all championship contenders. Steve, Mike Conway is on a one-off. He could care less about the championship. It's about winning and winning now.
And he's doing a terrific job, as you guys have been saying. Yeah, currently sat in 8th.
Reminding you about the Verizon streaming and downloading the IndyCar 13 app. All you have to do is call Star Indy or search the App Store or Google Play, only from Verizon. Appropriately, we ride on the Verizon Penske Chevy. Will Power, he's losing ground. Dario Franchitti is solidifying. Look at his teammate, though. Dixon again always pops out to the outside there in 3.
He does, but he just can't get far enough up to do the side-by-side move through that kink.
Word from race control, restart, okay. Restart is okay. Charlie Kimball is not.
Charlie Kimball right rear.
I promise you Scott Dixon doesn't think that restart was okay.
Yeah, damage again. It looked like damage to Kimball's right rear pod, and also that has led perhaps to tyre failure. I don't think that's just a straight puncture on the car. I think it was probably bodywork damage which has caused it.
Charlie's just off to the right of screen behind the pace car there, behind Prince's Gate in a safe area. Meanwhile, back to it. Bourdais, Dixon.
10 to go.
10 to go. Can you imagine how Jay Penske feels? His car, his man out in front.
Bourdais is out of push to pass. He is completely exposed to Dixon, who has 2 push-to-passes remaining. Will he use one here? No, he does not. He's going to look to the outside again.
Remember, Dixon used a couple of 2 or 3 of those push-to-passes early on in this race. Hey, we need to say well done to Sebastian Bourdais. He gets this week's Firestone Extra Mile. He has gone the extra mile. In good shape in the McAfee entry. And this will be a relief to him, Townsend, won't it? For a man who knows how to run up front so often, to be back in this position again, it's rejuvenating.
It's rejuvenating for sure, but he is on pins and needles because he knows those red tires are going to wear. He's got to be so careful not to abuse them. At the same time, stay ahead of Dixon, and he has to stay ahead of Dixon with a nice gap right here.
Oh, yeah.
Because Dixon has the push to pass. He knows it. He is waiting patiently for the perfect time and the easy pass. He is not on the button here, but it's only a matter of laps, I'm sure, before he's going to have a proper run on the push to pass.
He's having another look now.
And he's close as he's been.
They're side by side.
How deep can he go on brakes?
Yeah.
Bourdais going to make it as tough as he possibly can, and another one goes. He survives another trip through turn 3 without losing the lead to Dixon.
A great example of how experienced Dixon is to know that he can squeeze Bourdais in the brake zone just enough to just cramp his radius through that corner.
You're exactly right, yeah, and you called it absolutely right as well, Townsend, with this push to pass. 2 left to Dixon, 0 to Bourdais. The gap now 0.4. It was down to 0.2. Dixon just back a little bit.
And all the while, Dario Franchitti is catching the 2 of them.
Yeah. Nothing's changed further back. Andretti is still 5th. Castroneves, Kanaan, Conway, Hinchcliffe, and Tagliani. Jan?
You're talking a lot about push to pass. Remember, here at Toronto, you get 20 seconds. Not only do you get those 10 pushes, but if Scott Dixon decides to use this, he will have that push to pass down the entire lakeshore. And look at this move.
He's on it. He is on it and blows by Sebastian Bourdais. New race leader, Scott Dixon, last weekend's Pocono 400 winner, is in the front again on a track he has never stood on the top step of the podium at.
Boy, what a great move. He kept winding him in, wondering where to take the move, wondering how to use that push to pass, and it is now Dixon takes over the lead from Bourdais, and Dixon still has 1 push to pass remaining. Bourdais says 0.
Now, how about Dario Franchitti? 4 remaining. Talk about alligator arms. He hasn't been spending any of that money, and he's got a lot left here.
This is cool stuff.
Alligator arms. I remember a famous line from one of my old colleagues back in Australia billboards. He said to Dario Franchitti once, "So, you're a Scotsman with Italian heritage. That means you like waving your hands around a lot. You just don't put them into your pockets." Look at this. What can Will Power do with just 6.5 laps remaining?
Franchitti on over.
Franchitti's on it.
Franchitti to the outside of Bourdais.
Is it going to be a mirror of what Scott Dixon did? No. Can't get by the Frenchman.
Not there. But Frankie's going to be thinking, well, we've just seen Dixon do this. We should be able to do the same thing.
Let's not lose sight that Will Power still has 3 push-to-passes left as well. Hunter Ray, last year's race winner, series champion. Damage on that front wing.
Yeah, how is the left front looking? Oh, he's pulling a... Yeah, there's a lot of it.
The banner.
The banner being dragged around the tyre, that's what we can see.
Oh, he's with teammate. He's fighting his teammate, EJ Vizo. This is what it looked like from Hinchcliffe's car. 3 Andretti Autosport cars together.
And Hunter Ray tried to brake as late as possible, got it a little too late, and just glided through that apex with too much understeer.
Ryan frustrated. It has not been a day. 2 stalls leaving the pit box. And then now this crash. It's been a tough day for the defending champ. Laps running out. It'll be 5 next time by. Look at Dixon. He's gone. He is out of there.
Yeah, Bourdais clearly struggling now with those tyres. The push to pass is great to make the move on Bourdais, but the difference we see now, the gap, 2.073 seconds, that is down to driving skill and the tyres working. Bourdais' tyres are done. Franchitti in third has got to be thinking...
5 more laps, doing a great job. Give us 5 more good laps.
That's Jay Penske on the radio with Sebastian Bourdais, and you can hear the anxiety in the team owner's voice. He's supposed to be the calm, cool, and collected one. I think he wants this more than Bourdais.
Yeah.
Remember, nobody has won back-to-back races.
Franchitti's on the button here. Bourdais to the inside. We've seen this so many times before, but Franchitti does not have the same kind of run that Dixon's able to get. He's going to have to push a little harder in turn 1 in that brake zone and that turn 1 apex.
Power's been using his push to pass as well. He has the same amount left as Dario Franchitti, but he's lost ground to the Scotsman again. And our race leader, Dixon, is more than 2.5 seconds out in the lead. Look at this fight here. Pagenaud, he's in 12th. That's Tagliani immediately ahead. Vizo shortcuts again. He's trying to get by James Hinchcliffe for that 9th spot.
Don't forget, Hinchcliffe is on red, so he's got the same vulnerability that Bourdais got up front. You can see him struggling way up ahead there.
It doesn't sound impressive for James Hinchcliffe, the 3-time winner this year, to finish 9th, but it would be his best ever Toronto finish.
In order to finish, he's going to have to make sure that his teammate doesn't get a chrome horn up underneath him.
4 laps to go here in exhibition place. There is Ryan Hunter-Ray. He's been able to get going again. Vizo on Hinchcliffe, Pagenaud on Tagliani. They'll go side by side through 1, and they They hit. Tag goes around.
Tagliani did not need that. Local guy. He has had so many tough races, 4 or 5 in a row with the ovals, and man, he was forcing the front to just stay there. I don't think that was, I don't know there was room there, Steve.
Full course caution with 4 laps to go.
Wow.
So does this allow Bourdais to get his tires cool? Does it give him any chance to get back on Dixon? We're about to find out. Here is Viso, Tagliani, and Pagenaud to the outside. Pagenaud left him room. They were well past the apex, and Tagliani just tried to get on the power to give himself a chance to get it back because he was out of push to passes. He knew the only way to save it is way early on the power. It just didn't work.
Fighting to have 2 Canadians in the top 10 here in Toronto. This is the last thing Scott Dixon wanted to see when he had a 3.3 second lead.
Can you believe it? For Dixon is thinking, I've got round Bourdais, I'm good, looking good, I'm in clean air, I'm taking care of my tyres, the laps are counting down, 3 to go.
I've been in that situation before, and you're just like, oh, please,
like, seriously?
Yeah. Especially the way the last restart went, and the fact that that was considered, fine,
that was
legal.
considered a clean start. Now, as you say, Townsend, the question is now, how will Bourdais' tyres react to cooling down? Will we find some extra grip in them for the final couple of laps if we get released?
I don't think Bourdais is going to wait to find out. He's going to see. He's going to think to himself, I've got to do it in turn 1 or on the start. But Dixon, there's no way. Once bitten, twice shy there. There's no way he's going to putt through the last corner like he did on the last one.
He's not going to let that happen. If Dixon can hang on, if he can hang on to win this first of the doubleheader here in Toronto, he will have 31 open-wheel career victories. Guess who else has 31 open-wheel career victories? Sebastian Bourdais and Dario Franchitti, the two guys following him.
Now, Dario Franchitti is going to have maybe 2 laps or 1 lap remaining on the restart. So maybe 2 laps on the restart. He has 2 push-to-passes. Bourdais 0, Dixon only 1. Does Dario go big here and think my championship is on the line? Mathematically, I got to stay in it. I need a win.
That was Emma Davies-Dixon, Scott's wife, you saw, and his mum Glenys, and there is his boss, Chip Ganassi. Last week, something truly special. You think about everything that man's accomplished. That was the team's first ever 1, 2, 3. There was a question raised this morning in the drivers' meeting about track sweeping, getting rid of the marbles, so that they particularly through the last corner, to make it fair so that they can pack up and get going. We'll see. So that's not going to happen. It will be a single file restart. A single file restart because they don't have the time to sweep the track.
Yeah.
The goal is to finish under green. Nobody likes to see a race finish under caution. Well, I'm sure Scott Dixon would.
I'm sure he'd love it.
He wouldn't complain. We want to go racing. We want to finish it with a checkered flag, not a yellow and a checkered.
White green start here. Let's go to fuel position 1.
Nobody's won back-to-back races this year. Yes, Hinchcliffe's won 3. There have been multiple winners, but no one's won back-to-back. Remember last year, Ryan Hunter-Reay went on a string of 3 wins in succession, which was the platform to vault him to his championship victory. Is this what it's going to be for Scott Dixon?
Now, if you get 20 seconds on the push-to-pass and you have 1 lap to go and you're Marco Andretti with 3 push-to-passes, you simply hold the button the entire lap. For 60 seconds of extra boost. Let's watch this little troublemaker.
And the back straight. At 8 starter.
Overtake on the start straight and the back straight. That's the instruction. We're getting ready to race and finish this first of 2 races here in Toronto. Will it be Dixon or can Bourdais do something special? Dixon's gone. There's no way that he's going to let that happen. Green and white. 1 more lap, 1.75 miles. Who's on the inside there? That's Helio Castroneves trying to get by his countryman and friend Tony Kanaan.
And Mike Conway's going to have a big run on Castroneves here. Mike Conway on the button, on those red tires. Let's see if he can get a run. No.
Look at power on Franchitti. Inside goes.
Oh no!
Hang on to it. The two come together.
No!
Wow! And Power knocks himself out of it.
And this will send him straight to the back of the pack.
No, for Will Power. We told you about these 2 guys at Toronto.
Yeah.
They're like oil and water, and it's happened again. However, up front, it is clear that Scott Dixon has been the class of this opening race. He is the man. And it was unbelievable last weekend in Pocono. What a dominant performance. Good fuel economy from the Hondas. Great driving from Scott Dixon. And the man who is Chip Ganassi's longest tenured driver wins the first one in Toronto. Dixon gets back-to-back victories. This guy is staging his championship run. Awesome result for Dragon Racing, for Jay Penske and Sebastian Bourdais. And Dario Franchitti finishes on the podium. Well, let's show you what happened here.
Will Power doing the classic fade to the outside, so Dario thinks he's going to the outside, and then he just goes for the dive bomb. But man, that was a tight gap to shoot for.
Look at the reaction from Chip Ganassi.
Boy, oh boy, and Dario Franchitti must be thinking, how did I get away with that one? It would have been so close.
All right, let's get to the Ganassi camp, Jan.
And Mike Hull makes the calls for Scott Dixon, and I'll have to say, good pit strategy, but for you and Scott Dixon, it came down to patience.
It came down to patience while we were waiting on what became a non-call by race control, which is fine. We just had to race, and Scott had a great race car. That's really what matters today. And I think the difference maker really was when he went one lap longer than Will Power there in that last segment. I think that he did a great in-lap and a great out-lap, and that made the difference for us at the end.
And as a team, they definitely got it done.
Mike Hull, Scott Dixon, they've been working together so long. What a partnership they have, and what a run from the 32-year-old New Zealander. He's done it again. First back-to-back winner. And look at Bourdais celebrating. He's stoked with second.
Scott Dixon has won here, the first of 2 in Toronto. He's climbed out of the car. It's a long ways away from pit lane, so the team will be here in a moment to celebrate with you. What a drive. So many things to go through. Let's start first. You wanted a penalty on Sebastian Bourdais on that restart. You still eventually got him.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say, big thanks to everybody in Toronto. It's been great crowds here. The fans have been fantastic as usual. And, these double headers are tough. We've got through race one, wins big. But I've got to thank, Target, Canada, Target and the whole team. Perfect pit stops. But, just a crazy day. But I think, at the end there on that restart, they definitely jumped, man. I was meant to be the leader, and he blew on by before I even went. So, we'll review what happened there later. And, it was okay. We definitely had the speed and a few more overtakes to go than him.
How'd you get around him?
We tried a couple of times. He was definitely very good on the brakes. Bourdais into three. Tried it a couple of times, and then eventually he'd run out of overtakes. So, got past him on the straight, pulled back in front of him, and he had nowhere to go. So, it was one of those sort of afternoons of waiting patiently to try and get the best that we could out of it. But the car was fantastic. So, I want to thank Target again, everybody in Toronto. This is what we need. We need to get this momentum going. Hopefully, we should have made some good inroads on some of the people high in the points too.
2 in a row, and now the only IndyCar drivers that have won more races than you are named Foyt, Andretti, or Unser. Nobody else has won more.
I'm excited about that. That's a crazy list to be on. Respect those guys so much, and I remember watching them when I was younger, and let alone to be on a list with them is very humbling for me. And I hope that we can win many more races with Team Target. It's been a career team for me and a team that I love. Everybody there is like family, and hopefully it's a long road ahead and we can get a few more.
Great drive. Congratulations. This was his 150th consecutive start. He might be on the drive to a third championship in his IndyCar career, Lee.
Kevin, it's his 12th year with Chip Ganassi Racing. There is Chip and Emma Davies-Dixon. It's terrific. Just a great day. There's Emma. She was thrilled. She got to enjoy Winner's Circle last week in Pocono and here in Toronto. And we're only halfway through this doubleheader, and we are far from done. We'll hear from more drivers when we come back. What an afternoon in Toronto. Thoroughly enjoyable, and we had a little bit of everything at the Honda Indy 2 in Toronto. Just look at this glorious weather. And the race was magnificent. You know who's going to be celebrating tonight? Jay Penske and his Dragon Racing crew, because they have never had an IZOD IndyCar Series podium until today, Kevin Lee. That's their first.
This was a great drive and perfect timing. Here's Jay Penske coming into victory lane, where Sebastian Bourdais gets a big hug. That close to giving Jay his first IndyCar win. What do you think?
I think we just didn't have quite enough for the Dixie, but like Jay said, that's why I done it at the end. It just feels like after everything we went through to be on that good, and just feels like a million wins, and it's I can't thank these guys enough for giving me the opportunity, the car, and sticking with me. It's been a rough ride so far, so hopefully you can turn this thing around and score big from now on.
It's been a while. This used to be old hat. You used to lead and dominate every weekend. What did it feel like to be out front again?
It was like, what's going to happen again? It's just, I was just so stressed out because we've had so many good runs, but just never the end result, and it feels so sweet to be there right now.
Great run. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sebastian Bourdais came awfully close to getting to number 32. Brian?
Dario Franchitti with a good run as well. One thing you can always be assured of is the 10 car is going to run well, and there's going to be a little drama. Tell us about that final lap.
I don't know. I was defending. I did what I'd done all day, what Sebastian had done all day, what Will had done all day, what Scott had done all day, and I gave him the outside. And he wanted to go down the inside when there was half a car width. So he ricocheted off me and the wall, and I couldn't make the corner. And that's my fault. He's shaking his fist as he always does. Always somebody else's fault with Will, and it's never mind. We had a good 1-3 finish there. We'll do a bit of work on the car for tomorrow. We're using the tyres a little too hard. Something to do with the setup there, so we'll work on that for tomorrow. And it's a hard day. To do this twice in one weekend is physically pretty difficult.
Very difficult indeed. Another podium, 2 in a row for Dario Franchitti.
And Will Power just had a chance to look at that replay. We talked before the show that this place produces fireworks today. You were the fireworks. What happened in turn 3?
Me and Dario just don't like turn 3. I mean, I feel bad for the Verizon crew. We were sitting there in a pretty good position. I'm really surprised they let that restart go where Bourdais just went. But yeah, it was a good, man, I've never driven so hard through a whole race. It was kind of disappointing to be sitting there in the tyres in turn 3 again. That's racing hard.
Let me ask you quick, though, because it was the second time. The first time was this crazy move just flying by Scott Dixon, same place.
I almost pulled up. I mean, the move past Dixon was definitely, if I just braked a little bit earlier, I would have got him. And it just took me by surprise that he broke early. Then I brake real late. But, yeah, just going for a win, really.
A lot of people going for it today, a lot of fireworks, and, of course, exciting action. Will Power hoping he'll get a better chance at this tomorrow because, remember, it's not just one, it's 2 in TO.
CEO of Honda Canada, Jerry Dario, why don't you step up onto the
A great show north of the border today. Welcome back to Toronto in Victory Lane, and we're going to do it all again tomorrow, starting at 3 o'clock Eastern, a doubleheader from Toronto in Victory Lane with the winning owner, Chip Ganassi, Jay Penske, who finished second. Chip, you've battled his dad many times. You've got another Penske to deal with now, it looks like.
Well, we welcome. Hey, it's great to have these young guys coming in, wanting to be owners, coming into the sport. We welcome them.
You made some changes in the engineering staff. Tom Brown took over in general. What does it mean to come this close to winning a race here today and run up front?
I mean, to see the quality of our people, to get to race with owners like Chip and my dad and Andretti's, and it's just an incredible feeling for our whole team. We worked so hard for it. This is just a great step forward for the team.
Chip, it's been a frustrating season. Not bad for most, but you expect more. Well, now you guys are definitely back after the last 2 weeks. Still thinking championship right now?
Well, I guess Scott's up to third in the points now, so I guess we got a shot at it. It'd be nice. We're going to work hard at it.
Congratulations. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's do it again.
Castro Neves comes home 6th today. I know you were expecting more mid-race. You kind of got buried. It had to do with pit strategy?
Yes, unfortunately, sorry, boss. He told me to come in, and I got confused with what car in front of me, and I was coming in and decided to bail out. Not good, and that changed our speed strategy. But the car was fast. We actually had the fastest lap of the race. We showed that we were really good, and I take it. 6th place, I'll take it. Tomorrow we're starting in 3rd. Different change, different things. So now we feel very strong for tomorrow.
You say you're starting 3rd tomorrow. Let's remind everyone, this morning you had a qualifying session for tomorrow. Your car was a lot better. You seemed like that was looking good for you, and you knew saving tires was the key. Have you saved anything today?
And that's, I tell you, that was an amazing race because I practiced so much in terms of little things that people sometimes don't understand. And saving the tires, fuel, it was actually really good. My car was actually older tires. It was just amazing. So let's see what happened. Obviously, Toronto is a place that it's very difficult to not have a yellows, and but right now I'm very happy with 6th place and extending the lead on the championship.
I have some good news for you. You have never led the championship more than 6 races until today. Now it's 7. Congratulations.
Thank you. Woohoo!
And we congratulate Elio and Scott Dixon as well, but we're going to turn your attention to the points. And I also need to, before we get to that, tell you about something pretty dramatic. We've heard from Dario Franchitti. He's standing on the podium, but that's for now. He has had that 3rd place taken away from him. We have just heard from race control. He has had a time penalty for blocking on the last lap. They feel that he impeded Will Power and have docked him of that 3rd place. They've put a time penalty on him. It drops him all the way to 13th, and it elevates Marco Andretti to the podium. So Dario is standing there for now, but it's not real. So Dario does not even know about this himself at the moment. That is just from race control. Franchitti blocking on the last lap, impeding Will Power. Wow, this thing's going to explode. So podium celebrations still going on, and Scott Dixon, his 31st career open wheel victory. And Dario Franchitti is still standing on the podium, yet to be informed of what has gone down. He has been given a time penalty and has lost the podium. This is for the reason why. Blocking and impeding Will Power. Townsend, talk us through.
Now, Lee, what we have to do is we've got to watch the relationship between Dario's car and this line right here, this dotted line, which is parallel to the outside walls. That's what the officials are going to be looking at. We can go ahead and play here. Watch Dario. Fades a little bit to the outside. Right here. Boom. Fades back to the inside. It is only 6 inches to a foot, but it's definitely in reaction to. It is so subtle. I know everybody at home is saying, how can you call that? but that is the fine line of long-time experience out of Dario Franchitti trying to push the limit and a hard-charging Will Power. It's a really tough one to call.
And you saw it, Townsend. You saw it as it was happening. But boy, oh boy, I think if I was Dario Franchitti, I would be.
But if I'm Will Power,
beside myself for being excluded for that.
Yeah,
I'm given a time penalty.
If you think that's bad, watch what happens here, Steve.
This was earlier with Sebastian Bourdais. Oops! There goes that lovely crystal trophy.
Watch this face.
Oh, I've just had the best day in a long time, and now that happened.
Well, he should just take Dario's.
There is good news, though, race fans.
Poor guy.
At least he's got a good spirit. That's what's left of Sebastian Bourdais' second place trophy. So let's take a look.
So here's Will Power. He's going to look to the outside. That's Dixon, I think, earlier.
So they were the two different passes of Will Power today. One on Dixon earlier, and then that one on Dario Franchitti. So this is only temporary. Marco Andretti has been elevated to third, and Franchitti dropped to 13th on that time penalty, behind Ed Carpenter and EJ Viso. So it's all going on. Drama, and we're going to do it all again tomorrow. The Honda Indy 2 in Toronto. There's going to be a lot to be said after this. Back in the post-race celebrations and drama here in Toronto. This while we're in that commercial break just a few moments ago, Chip Ganassi Racing's PR director, Kelby Krause, just informed Dario Franchitti of the penalty. And Scott Dixon saying, what? What happened? You did what? And that's the look of shock and surprise on Dario's face. He's here live now with Kevin.
Well, this is the strangest podium celebration. You just went through the pictures and didn't find out until right before you sprayed the champagne. Unfortunately, we don't have a monitor to show you the replay, but from your recollection, is this warranted?
No, of course it's not warranted. You know, all day people have been going to the inside, as we're allowed to do. I moved to the inside. I stayed there. There was not a car width to go through there. And, you're braking on the limit. Car's dancing around a little bit. Will comes steaming down the inside, out of control, hits the wall, hits me, and crashes. I don't quite understand how the hell that's my fault. If we have a chance and if we can protest it, we will. But really, ridiculous decision, as I say. The whole outside was there, and that's what I and every other bloody driver I was racing with I've been defending the inside all day. But I think Will did the same thing to Dixon as well, steamed up the inside, out of control. So I don't know if that's the kind of decisions to make. It's just bizarre, but it continues a long run of these type of things.
So now everyone's frustrated, and normally we would go on and have several days before another race, but now you race again tomorrow. How does that impact things?
It doesn't at all. You just go out and do your best as I would. But I just really question sometimes what race control do. I just really question it.
Okay, thank you. That's Dario Franchitti from third to we're hearing 13th now unofficially.
Yeah, that's right. The 13th, Ed Carpenter elevated to 12th, EJ Viso 14th. But at the front end of the field, Marco Andretti now is officially in third place. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot to come from this. And again, in race control, Dario made reference to race control. Regular race director, Bo Barfield, not with us this weekend for personal reasons. Long-time race director Brian Barnhart in for Bo this weekend. So, what a weekend! What a weekend! And we're only halfway through. Gonna do it all again tomorrow.
Still some celebrations going on in Victory Lane from here at the Honda Indy in Toronto, and a little bit of controversy, but with a new race director this weekend, you would expect maybe things don't go the way that you always think that they will. But for Mike Conway, they went better than you thought they would. Mike, you guys did not have the car that you had in Detroit, and qualifying didn't go so well. But what did you guys find in the race?
We found a bit of grip, which is what we're missing the whole weekend. Quite frustrating, bit of a head scratcher we couldn't figure out what it was. We changed lots of things, but nothing seemed to affect it. But in the race, I think the grip levels increased, and that helped us. And the changes we made, definitely improved the car. A bit more to do overnight, and with the warm-up tomorrow, that will help us, really figure out some things. But we're definitely going in the right direction. And yeah, to come away with P7 is pretty good. Pretty happy for the guys and all the crew that worked really hard to give me the car to come here. So happy, but we got it all to do again tomorrow. We start right at the back.
And anything race strategy-wise for tomorrow that you learned today?
Well, there wasn't that many yellows as there normally are, but then we saw Detroit. First race was pretty quiet, and then the next race was not. So maybe the same thing tomorrow, but we'll see. And we just got to look at that and play it by ear. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We should have a better car again, and we'll have a good result.
It'll be another great race from here in Toronto, Jan.
With the hometown hero, of course. Anytime you'd make a move on the racetrack, I know it was wild behind. The stands were going crazy. 8th for you, but you and I have just been watching the replay and the call in turn 3. What's your opinion for Dario?
I mean, I've only seen one angle on one time or one or two times. It's tough to call. I think I see the movement that they were talking about, but man, that it wasn't a lot. I think if it hadn't been for Will overshooting it, it would have been a no call. You see, Will, he's ducking and weaving. He goes one way, goes the other. There is a bit of a kink in the racetrack there, so Dario could just be taking the kink. I don't know, tough call. I've seen a lot worse this year that didn't get called, so I guess that's going to be the issue, I think.
Now, you told me the car's dancing there. Same thing Dario said. It's not. I mean, the car's dancing and officially because you're braking at the limit.
You're braking at the limit, and like I said, that there is a little kink, so you are actually turning a bit to the right anyway, and Dario could have looked in his mirror and saw Will go to the left first and not noticed that he'd gone to the right. He may have even been trying to give Will room to the left. You never know, so that one's a little on edge, but hey, I don't get paid to make calls, and I get paid to drive the race car.
Hey, talking about calls, just quickly, because we're short on time, but turn 5, cutting the corner, what's your view on that? Because we have a race tomorrow. Should they do that?
Well, it's not the racetrack, but at the same time, it created some pretty interesting situations, so it was probably good for the fans, but I'd prefer not.
All right, James Hinchcliffe, 8th today. Hopes for more tomorrow. Obviously, a lot of action, and imagine what we're going to have tomorrow, now with a little added controversy from Race Control.
Updated points, and in 2 races, Scott Dixon has moved 4 places. He jumps another one today. He's into the top 3. Take a look at the points. Kanan's on the move as well. Townsend Bell, thoughts on today?
I mean, look at Scott Dixon, the jumps he's made in points. I really want to know what Dario Franchitti does with the drivers. He's the spiritual leader of these guys. Dixon won today, but Dario's going to be furious. I got to agree with Hinch. It's the consistency is going to be the topic of discussion between now and tomorrow's race for sure. Steve?
Well, a great race, very exciting, and it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow because, like you guys were saying, no time to cool down. There's a race tomorrow.
And guess what? The man who won today starts on pole tomorrow. Not because he won today, but he was quickest in that second qualifying for race 2. So Dixon has the power at the moment. One name we didn't mention there was Simona Di Silvestre, who worked her way up into the top 10. We congratulate her. Good day for some, tough day for others. We're going to have a whole lot more to talk about tomorrow. Stay tuned. The Lucas Oil Motorsports Hour is coming up next. And don't forget, we're halfway there. The doubleheader continues tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern for our second race in the 2 in Toronto, right here on your home of open wheel racing, the NBC Sports Network. For all the information, go to NBCsports.com. It's time for us to congratulate the Iceman, Scott Dixon, now with 31 career IndyCar victories. Awesome stuff from the Kiwi. See you tomorrow.
Won the Tour de France.
The NBC Sports Network thanks you for watching this presentation of the IZOD IndyCar Series.